Welcome into Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio and on Big 12 Studios. We are on TuneIn on the audio side, the Big 12 Fast channel on the video side. Special thanks to Taman Turner, our producer via radio. Anthony Smith, our Big 12 Studios producer. I'm James Westling alongside my guy, Ari Timken.
Sir?
We're powered today by Modelo, brewed for those with a fighting spirit. Big 12 Whiparound here in just a couple of moments. Our inaugural run. Every game in the league. We'll put a minute or two on the clock and break down what was a full weekend of Big 12 men's basketball. And then cannot wait to get this guy's hot take on, is the fear gone of the Kansas Jayhawks? Do Big 12 teams no longer bow down to Kansas after they fall at West Virginia? And then Chris Kleiman.
What would be the giveaway there? I mean, where's the suspense? Yeah, I mean, yes, no, they clearly.
I think it's pretty clear what your take will be. But again, it's going to be hot. It's going to be hot, piping hot.
God, it's
all right.
Clear the teams are so very afraid of Kansas.
They're terrified.
4 different coaches have now beaten Kansas at West Virginia in 4 different years. Okay. Nobody's fearful of anybody.
Man, West Virginia is a tough place, especially when playing Kansas.
Yeah.
It's like they put an NBA team on the floor for one game a year.
God, super scared of Kansas. Everybody's so scared of Kansas and Darren Peterson, man.
Also,
golly.
A really interesting note about K-State coach Chris Kleiman. We're going to dive into the college football playoff and transfer portal tracker and all of that, but the Manhattan Mercury, who broke that Chris Kleiman was retiring before anybody else knew it, they sat down with the former K-State coach and really talk about the exit plan that nobody else was brave enough to make. And Chris Kleiman made it, so we'll dissect that. But, man, it was a great weekend for your Bears.
It was an amazing weekend for my Bears. Had a lot of Modelo's on Saturday night, both during the game and then celebratory after the game. But, it's sometimes fandom, you just never know what to expect. And the Bears historically have always lost that game. They've just never had a clutch quarterback or a great offense. And it's remarkable to see a team that has been such a thorn in the side of the Bears give it up the way the Bears had given it up to them over so many years. I mean, incredible. The Bears have played 3 playoff games against the Packers historically, and the last win they had came in like 1941, I think is what it was. I mean, some of the records in terms of offensive futility for the Bears have been broken through this win against the Packers. Just a remarkable weekend of football. I mean, and it's not over yet. Think about this. We had the playoff game on Thursday night, the college football playoff game on Friday night. Mm-hmm. We had NFL playoffs on Saturday, NFL playoffs on Sunday. We still have a Monday night playoff game tonight. Like, this is the best time right now. This is incredible. And how about Indiana football, man? Think about what the Bears are doing and what Indiana football is doing and think, like, is this really happening? Is this real life?
What a time to be alive here in 2026. Indiana smokes Oregon in their bowl game. Quick note, I was in Tempe, Arizona over the weekend. Big 12 Studios, Big 12 Radio, officially everywhere.
Wow.
Sent you guys that pic. It was on all the TVs at the Graduate Hotel, which is the on-campus hotel at Arizona State.
Did you walk up and be like, hey, it's me? Hey.
Do I look familiar? Do you guys feel like maybe you've seen me somewhere?
Hey, I'm here, guys. I made it.
There's the pic on Big 12 Studios.
There you go.
Called K-State's loss to Arizona State. But then also, one of my Uber drivers was a former linebacker at Colorado who is now living in the Phoenix area. So it was like a weird 6 degrees of separation.
How did that?
Felt like the Big 12 was everywhere.
How did that come up?
You know, I didn't ask him his life story, but he was watching the Rams-Panthers game on his phone, posted up like on his dash. And somehow we got to talking about football.
And you were okay with that?
Totally. I was fine with it. Yeah, it was fine. But he clearly knew ball.
Man.
And then we started talking about Colorado.
Clearly a ball knower.
He was a ball knower.
Did he say, like, oh, I know you. You're on the TV everywhere here?
No, he didn't.
I know. You're James Westling. You're from Big 12 today. No. I see you everywhere here.
No, he didn't mention that. But we had a good chat about Colorado, and it just felt like I was in Big 12 country, which sometimes You don't always feel that way, especially this time of year because like the students they're just now starting to come back. Some schools start classes today or tomorrow or later this week, and they were kind of starting to trickle in, but it was all Big 12.
So let me ask you something, that's really cool. What's your feeling on a coach in a locker room setting after a game saying very loudly and proudly, F the team they just played, especially if it's a rival? Like, how would you feel if following a Kansas State football win over Kansas, the coach of Kansas State was caught on video saying, like, in the locker room to his team, F Kansas?
Okay, so this is like a behind-the-scenes thing? This is like he's at his press conference saying, yeah, we hate those guys. It's like a locker room thing.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. You got a problem with it?
No, I mean, so Ben Johnson, the coach of the Bears, did this in a very highly publicized video, which shows kind of him engaging with his. It's become very every week we're seeing what Ben Johnson's saying post game in his locker room speech. He's giving away game balls and he does his good, better, best. Don't ever let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. But at the beginning, he said F the Packers a few times, and there are a lot of Packer fans that are very upset about it. And a lot of analysts and media and people are very up in arms about it.
You just won an NFL playoff game against your most hated rival who you haven't beaten in forever. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Are we just soft now? Is that what's happened?
Right. Like, that's a very emotional, human, connect with the fans reaction. I'm sure you felt the same way from your couch.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. Plus, I mean,
right?
There's also been this stretch of like, coaches and players that are like, oh yeah, like they don't buy into the rivalry as much. So I think like coaches and players that buy into the rivalry, it's even better. Like I think as fans, you want the players and the coaches to feel the same way you feel about your rival.
Totally.
And when they don't, it sucks.
It's like, does this game not mean as much to the coaches and players as it does to me?
And like there were chippiness on both sides. Like this is becoming more and more of an actual rivalry. It's great, but I'm just seeing people's reaction. And the class police are out in full force. Even Dickie V was like, "Oh, it's classless." I love you, Dickie, but come on, it's not that awesome, baby, for you to have that comment.
Well, to answer your initial question, yes, we are soft. Very soft as a sports society or just society in general, but I digress. All right, Taman, let's put some time on the clock. Let's do our inaugural Big 12 men's basketball here for 2026. Whiparound. Taman will give us the game. We'll tell you a quick recap and summary of what happened over the weekend.
All right, let's start off. Kansas State at Arizona State. Go.
Kansas State at Arizona State. Arizona State won a wild one, 87-84. They snapped a 4-game losing streak after they started 9-2 and had quality wins in the non-conference. They had beaten Texas, Washington State, and Oklahoma before their 4-game slide. K-State led at the half. Jerome Tang was 50-9 all-time at K-State when leading at the half, even though this was a close lead. K-State led 48-41. Looked like they were about to run away with things. Arizona State then ripped off a 10-0 run in the final 10 minutes, an extended run of 18-3. Haggerty bricks a 3 that was blocked from half court that would have tied it, and K-State loses to fall to 0-3 in Big 12 play.
Masamba Diop, 21 points, 17 in the second half. I mean, you just mentioned it, and you were on the call. James was on the call for this game, did a great job with it, even caught you in a 1,000% comment, which I love.
I thought of you when those words came out of my mouth.
But Haggerty hit a 3 to make it a 1-point game, but then after that, they didn't have much time after that. Haggerty kind of had like a half-court heave, but yeah, this was all about Diop in the second half really coming to life.
Thanks for watching.
You're welcome.
Game number 2.
Now you're doing good games. I'm watching your games.
That's awesome, dude. I thought you'd just not watch to spite me.
Of course not. Love listening to you.
Game number 2 took place last night. Cincinnati at UCF.
Yeah, this one was kind of buried because it was played on that standalone Sunday, and UCF got the win, 73-72. Man, that has been the story of Wes Miller's tenure. Close losses for Cincinnati. With 11 seconds to go, Themis Folks, the UCF point guard, hit the go-ahead jumper. That ultimately decided it. A buzzer-beating three rimmed out for Cincinnati's Jalen Celestine. And UCF shot almost 58% from the floor. By far their best mark in Big 12 play so far.
And how about Folks? Had 12 assists in this one. Wasn't huge in terms of scoring, but hit the dagger that gave UCF the lead. And you mentioned it, Cincinnati rimmed out a three at the buzzer. And Mustafa Tiem for Cincinnati, who played at UCF last year, had a career high 24 points in this game, but just was not enough. And it's setting up for a really bad season again for Cincinnati as they're 8-8 now and 0-3 in conference play.
Game number 3. This should be interesting. Kansas at West Virginia.
Yeah, Kansas falls to West Virginia. Huge win for Ross Hodge and the Mountaineers. 86-75, the final. The Darren Peterson saga continues. I'm going to let you have the floor on this one.
They played this game. That's right. Look, if you look at the box score, you're looking at Darren Peterson having another phenomenal performance. Once again, only attempted one shot in the second half. Played interestingly sparing minutes in the second half. It was just... Hey, you got this NBA player who is incredible, playing 31 minutes. You look at it and be like, oh, he played 31 minutes. But when things started to go south in the second half, and they did, Peterson was on the bench for most of it. I don't know what the cramps or what the hammy or what this was all about. But KU went more than 7 minutes without scoring, and West Virginia had a 16-0 run in that stretch, and that pretty much seized it. It was West Virginia outscoring Kansas 47-32 in the second half. So that'll do it.
And points in the paint. Kansas had 30 points in the paint in the first half. In the second half, just 6 after the break.
Yeah, Darren Peterson, man. When he plays, he's a huge difference maker. When he doesn't, it's a total huge void on this team. By the way, West Virginia shot 48% overall from the floor in this game. Kansas, going into Big 12 play, was elite defensively. So far in 3 games, they're 14th out of 16 teams in Big 12 defense so far.
BYU at Utah, the Holy War.
Also, Hunter Huff had a huge second half for West Virginia with 17. BYU survives on the road in the Holy War. BYU 89, Utah 84. Cougars led by 2 at the half. This was a rivalry thriller. The Cougars extended their winning streak to 12 straight. They are 3-0. This was the first road win for BYU at the Huntsman Center since 2021. Both teams kind of struggled from 3, but Richie Saunders had a career-high 14 rebounds. 24 points, 14 rebounds. Rob Wright, 23 and 6, and DeBonsa with 20. And then Keba Keita, kind of that fourth guy to complement the big 3. That was enough for BYU.
Yeah, BYU with 16 offensive rebounds, and that was a huge piece to this game. They also had they were plus 12 in points in the paint and plus 8 in fast break points. So they sort of won in the margins, and that was the difference in this very close game. A surprising close game here for Utah. Obviously, given the rivalry, though, it's not too surprising. But, yeah, nice effort here by Utah. BYU, though, just does enough to put them away.
Texas Tech at Colorado.
Yeah, this game was interesting because Texas Tech had a huge lead all throughout the contest. Texas Tech wins it 73-71. They were up 43-27, so 16 at halftime. And then in the second half, they led by as many as 24. And then, dare we say it, the altitude kicked in because Colorado started to chip away at the deficit. Texas Tech able to hang on. Colorado had a freshman, Isaiah Johnson, who exploded in the second half. He was scoreless at the break, finished with 21. And for Texas Tech, Donovan Atwell hit 5 threes, and JT Toppin with another double-double.
Yeah, Tech dominated the middle of the game. It was 43-27 at halftime and then ballooned to 24 in the second half before Colorado stormed back. Texas Tech survived foul trouble, had 4 starters, finishing with at least 4 fouls, and that stalled their offense in the second half.
All right, next one, Oklahoma State at Iowa State.
Iowa State gets the 83-71 win to improve to a program best 16-0. They are now 3-0 in Big 12 play, best start in school history. They had control right before halftime and then never looked back. Dominic Nelson had a 3-point play late in the first half. That gave Iowa State the lead that they would keep the rest of the way, and then they opened the second half early with a 9-0 run. Joshua Jefferson had a jumper and then a dunk, and Oklahoma State got the lead down to 6 a couple of times in the final 6 or 7 minutes, but Iowa State was just too much.
Yeah, I think this is where the strength of the Big 12 flexes its muscles. They won in the interior. They outscored Iowa State outscored Oklahoma State in the paint 40 to 24, and second chance points 12 to 4. So similarly, I think to Texas Tech and Colorado, it was the difference in the paint and in the second chance points.
Houston at Baylor.
All right, speaking of flexing your muscles, Houston dominated down in Waco with suffocating defense. They held Baylor to just 36% shooting from the field. Houston had 31 points off of Baylor's 16 turnovers, and Houston extended its school record road winning streak to 16 games. Houston has won 16 straight true road games. They had a 19-5 run early in the second half and just really imposed their will on the Bears on the road.
Yeah, Houston did not have a great shooting performance here, and still won by 22, amazingly. But it was the holy trinity, as Kelvin Sampson said after the game. He said, defense, rebounding, take care of the ball. That's your holy trinity. That puts us in position to win every game, and that was certainly the case here in this game. Houston has now won 22 of their last 23 games. That's a dominant force in the Big 12. You want to know the team that people are afraid of in the Big 12? Houston Cougars. That's the team that imposes fear in the opposition, not Kansas.
Oof. All right, last one, guys. I think this team imposes fear also. Arizona at TCU.
Yeah, this was a game that I thought was maybe a trap game for Arizona, and Matt Muehlbach, who I did the game with Saturday, played at Arizona, really connected to the program. He thought the same thing. He said, man, I thought that would be a tough game, and Arizona just clobbered them. 86-73 on the road in Fort Worth. Koa Pete led all scorers with 20 points. Arizona led 43-27 at halftime. And again, another above 50% shooting effort for Arizona. They lead the nation in halves in which they shoot better than 50% as a team. They led by as many as 21 in the first half. TCU went on a 7-0 run to try and get back in it, but Arizona answered, again, just flexing their muscles at the top.
Yeah, and normally it's the points, the paint, it's the rebounding that is the differentiator, but in this game, Arizona shoots 7 of 16 from 3, so 44%, not exactly, their bread and butter, but they made more threes than TCU did on 5 less attempts. So that was huge, and Arizona just continues to flex its muscles. And this, to me, is the biggest piece to this so far, the start for the Big 12. The top 4 teams of the Big 12 right now, James. The top 4 teams in the Big 12 right now are a combined 62-2. Arizona, Iowa State, Houston, and BYU are 62-2, with those 2 losses being a 2-point loss to UConn and a 3-point loss to number 21 Tennessee.
That is remarkable.
So this
Multiple
is strength
teams
at the top.
Very much so. Like you talk about, those 4 teams are in a class of their own. They are in a league of their own, and any of the 4 could not just make the Final Four, but they could win the whole thing. That's how loaded this league is. More on that coming up after the break. We're talking about Arizona, Iowa State, BYU, and Houston, those 4 teams, and then why the fear is gone when it comes down to the rest of the league bowing down to Kansas as the Darren Peterson saga continues. We'll hear from Bill Self. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Radio on Big 12 Studios, brought to you by Modelo. Here are the top plays from last weekend's action.
How about that step back, but Huff couldn't get the shot off.
You see the ground he covered on that step back? That was sick.
He lets it fly. Count it! A chance at 4 for number 3.
You ever do a really
good job of moving the basketball, get bodies moving so you can get straight line drives, but you can't do that. This is what you can't do against Texas Tech, is turn the basketball over, give them extra possessions.
Anderson bounces, watch behind the back, and top it, fades it off. Where both teams showing why they've had strong starts to the year. The fans really struggling to shoot the ball in this first half. Dibonsa blocked at the rim. Wow, what a block.
Top 10. You're going to want this one because AJ was met at the apex by James Okonkwo.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios in our Big 12 Basketball Games of the Week feature. Tomorrow night, Iowa State at Kansas at 8 Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. And then on Saturday, you can hear BYU at Texas Tech. That game is Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time. Two bangers this week in the Big 12 right here on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Is the fear officially gone after Kansas falls on the road and falls to 1-2 in Big 12 play? Kansas is 11-5. Last year they were 21-13. The year before that they were 23-11. Bill Self had never lost double-digit regular season games until the last couple of seasons. And Kansas pacing for another double-digit loss season this year at 11-5. Darren Peterson played 31 minutes. He scored 23 points, but he took 17 shots. Kansas had no bench in this game. Elmarco Jackson had 8. Jaden Dawson had 3. And Kansas coach Bill Self says that basically the difference between some of his teams of old and this team is that they just don't have the dudes coming off the bench anymore. Here's what he said about KU's struggles.
First of all, our league is a bitch. That's one thing. Secondly, the way that I see this isn't that we can't have a terrific team, isn't that we can't get it flipped. The one thing that we have to know is, and it's much like last year's team and the year before too, not so much the year before that, we were a 1 seed, is the margin for error isn't like it used to be. I mean, we're not bringing pros in off the bench. Let's just call it like it is. That's not an excuse because the guys out there are good enough, but the margin for error, if Markeith and Marcus want to take a couple of possessions off and give up a couple of threes, you know what? You got to play a lot harder than that. But our Jimmies were better than your Joes.
All right, so let me ask you this, James. What's he saying there, basically? Like, we're not as good as we have been because our players aren't as good?
Yes. That's exactly how I took it. And for the last 20 years, Kansas's advantage was their depth, their NBA upside, their recruiting. I mean, Kansas no longer hits the blue chip ratio if we look at that for basketball. If we're looking at top 100 recruits. So I went and I just looked. KU's national championship teams in 2022, they had 10 top 100 players. They had 8 on their 2008 team. The team that he just referenced, the team that was a 1 seed a few years ago, had 8 top 100 recruits. This team has 4.5. They have 5, but Darren Peterson's not at full strength.
Right.
So they essentially have half that. Their players aren't as good as they used to be. And then who does that fall on? Why is that the case?
Right. Well, and I think the larger point here is not only are they not as talented, but the league is more talented. So it's a combination of not the most talented KU rosters in conjunction with, I mean, there's 4 teams right now that are combined 62-2. So there's talent. It's just not going to Kansas the same degree that it did for a while. And, you ask the question, is the fear in Kansas gone? Yeah. I mean, obviously. Now, the difference is at home, I still think there's a fear. There's a fear that Allen Fieldhouse inspires that goes well beyond who's coaching them and the types of players they have. But, I mean, if there's one consistent program that people should fear, it's clearly Houston. I mean, that's a team that doesn't need to shoot lights out. That could still beat you by 22 points.
Yeah.
Baylor's another program that was up there with Kansas. I mean, the top 2 programs in this conference for the 2010s were Kansas and Baylor. The 2020s have been a totally different story. And the lack of talent on the roster or lack of as much talent on the roster is not only evident, James, but it's obvious in that maybe it's Bill Self, maybe it's the sign of the times, maybe it's a combination of both.
The thing that's really interesting about these two programs, so Baylor wins the national championship in 2021. Kansas wins it the next year in 2022. Both of these programs have had elite NBA players at the top. VJ Edgecombe gets drafted top 3, the Baylor freshman last year. Tunde Yesufu is going to be a lottery pick. He is an elite freshman. Darren Peterson, even with the injury stuff, might be the number 1 pick in this upcoming NBA draft. So they have that one guy just like they've always had, but to me it's the depth pieces that aren't there. You don't have former 4 or 5-star guys, to Bill Self's point, coming off the bench that are staying, that are developing, and are leaving for the NBA, not a one and done, but maybe after their junior year or their sophomore year, and contributing with experience for the 2 or 3 years that they're in college. Baylor had to overhaul their entire roster. They were one of just 9 teams in Division I that lost every single player from last year. That's very un-Baylor-like. Kansas is in the same boat in a lot of ways.
Well, Kansas and Baylor, so it's interesting. So you wonder has Baylor needed to adjust its strategy in terms of roster retention and acquisition, and Kansas too. How much has Bill Self regressed as a coach? How much of this is on Bill Self?
And I don't know that, has he regressed as an X's and O's coach? No, I don't think so. But I think in terms of evaluating talent.
And strategy, overall strategy, and how you acquire talent.
How you build your team. Bill Self might not be elite at roster management. Now, I think
this year is a pretty good example of that. Because the situation with Darren Peterson that's his bed, right? He's got a lie in it. So, I mean, who knows what the situation looks like, but it's clear it's not working. I mean, it works for him. He's showing out. He looks every bit the number 1 overall pick that he's going to be every night. I mean, it's salivating to watch him play. He had a 3 at the buzzer that was just an incredible shot, but you're not seeing a full game from him. You're seeing him check in and out of games, especially in the second half, and it feels like it's a huge disservice to the rest of the roster. So he's doing enough to make him look as good as he is for draft prospects, but not enough to help Kansas win.
Mm-hmm. What this start to the Big 12 slate collectively across the league has shown me through 3 games, and I think the last 2 or 3 years would kind of back this up, is that in college basketball, looking at coaches, I think there's 2 buckets. There's really strong player development and X's and O's guys, and then there's really strong roster management, general manager type guys. And it's rare to have a coach that can do both. Tommy Lloyd and Kelvin Sampson, I think, are in that rare elite company where they have rebuilt the way they recruit and develop guys, and they're managing their rosters and developing players at an elite level. Then you have Kevin Young, who is an elite roster manager and is improving as an X's and O's coach. They're much better defensively than they were in his first season. And then you have, I bring up Tommy Lloyd because he looked at Houston across the way and said, we have to be more physical. And he went out and he got the most physically dominant team that I think we've seen in college basketball maybe in the last decade, just in terms of dudes. And then on the flip side, you look at a guy like TJ Otzelberger, who found Keelan Torrey, a diamond in the rough, found Joshua Jefferson in the transfer portal after one above average but not elite season at St. Mary's, and then he's gotten Tamin Lipsey to stick around for 4 years. So the way we evaluate coaches, I think, is evolving in real time.
Yeah, and I think this is where Bill Self is offering excuses, but not much in terms of solutions, because this is not a one-year thing. This has been multiple years of the same mistakes. And, you get it to a degree with Baylor because they don't have as much of the blue bloodiness as Kansas does. So maybe the way that they're trying to build a roster is the way they have to. But if you're Kansas, your roster shortcomings are you. You got nobody else to point at or look in the mirror but you for putting this roster together. We know that you had north of $3 million to spend on the roster because of what Darren Peterson has cost you. That has been a sunken cost. The Darren Peterson acquisition has been a failure. Now, maybe I'll come out here and admit that at some point it's been a success. It's been a success for Darren Peterson and his pursuit of the number 1 overall pick. It's been a failure for Kansas basketball and their program. And the Kansas basketball program is much bigger than just one future first overall pick. Now, they're also in on Tyron Stokes, the number 1 player in next year's class, who's apparently a Nike athlete. So we'll see if he can, go past the Nike piece to be an Adidas guy at Kansas. We'll see. But I hope that there's some hard conversations being had with Jacques Vaughn or Bill Self or whoever is going to be the head coach of Kansas next year about what these minutes look like and what his play looks like, because I am not paying $3 million again for a guy that's not playing for the name on the front of the jersey. This is Kansas basketball we're talking about here. I'm not trying to get on my high horse, but the inventor of the sport coached at Kansas.
Right.
Wilt Chamberlain has played at Kansas. And it's one of the most, if not the most historic basketball program in the country. It's way bigger than any one player, any one coach.
When I think about the top 5.
And it's despicable.
The top 5 basketball programs: Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, UCLA.
And the biggest coaches at North Carolina and Kentucky played at Kansas. Dean Smith and Adolph Rupp played at Kansas.
Before the break, here's what Bill Self said about the ongoing Clip 3 chemistry issues with Darren Peterson.
I thought Darren was aggressive, didn't make shots, but he still gets 23 in 30 minutes. He's obviously, but I don't think that I look at it differently than you guys do. I look at it as regardless who you're playing with, if Flory's in the game or Bryson or Trey, what are we doing to give ourselves the best chance to win that possession? And we're playing like there's always time left. And that's not how you win on the road.
The last 2+ seasons in Big 12 play, Kansas is now 22-19. 3 games above 500, with half of those games being played at Allen Fieldhouse. I cannot wrap my mind around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's this has been the last few years. You mentioned, is the fear still there for Kansas? No. I mean, 4 different coaches have now beaten Kansas at West Virginia. That's a tough place to play, but these aren't elite, crazy good West Virginia teams you're losing to. It's not to single out West Virginia. It's just more of this is how imposing Kansas basketball is.
Yeah. And West Virginia's had, during those 4 coaches, some teams that aren't making the NCAA tournament that knock them off. More on Kansas coming up after the break with Shreyas Laddha, the KU basketball reporter for the Kansas City Star. And then Brian Thornton, VP of men's basketball at the Big 12, comes in studio at the top of the hour. He's Ari, I'm James. We roll along here on a Monday edition, Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo on TuneIn and on Big 12 Studios.
Here are the top assists from last weekend's action.
They say that's a clean block for Kansas.
There's that defense we talked about.
Badunga dropping it off. And White counted, and a foul. What a finish by the senior transfer, Trey White.
That's a close to 40% three-point shooter and sharp. Alley-oop. Oh, slammed down. Najee with a wham.
You say it on the move. You were dead on there. Bashir. Rebound ASU. Cherry-picking Johnson. It's a 3-point game. He leads all scorers in the game. And a 3 short from Jaden Pierre. Arizona running. Koa Pete rim runs and drops it in.
Koa Pete in Hawaiian, it means strong warrior.
and you're seeing a little of that warrior mentality.
But he is not going to play today for Oklahoma State. How do they pick up in his absence?
Well, they have to do it by committee. We talked about the guards, and Curry and Clary have to get it done, and oh my goodness, that's just way too easy.
Iowa State has not led in this game. Roy knifing into the paint, finds Fowler on a soft touch, gets it to go.
You have to do a really good job of moving the basketball, get bodies moving so you can get straight line drives, but you can't do that. This is what you can't do against Texas Tech, is turn the basketball over, give them extra possessions.
Anderson bounces, watch behind the back, and top it, phase it off. Where both teams showing why they've had strong starts to the year. The fancy pass. Good back cut. Very nice bounce pass and cut and finish.
Downhill, and then at the opposite end, Utah moving without the basketball, trying to find some easy looks.
It's pretty amazing. Saunders, what a pass, and then the layup, good. Boscovich through the contact.
Great find by Richie Saunders.
Back inside Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. West Virginia takes down Kansas over the weekend in Morgantown, 86-75 after KU held a 4-point lead at halftime. And to break it all down, Shreyas Laddha from the Kansas City Star covers KU basketball and football. Hey, Shreyas, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
Man, we're good. What was your number one takeaway from what happened in Morgantown?
KU's defense right now is just a disaster. They started off as one of the best teams in the country on the defensive end in non-conference play. Since that started in Big 12 play, they've been really, really bad. And clearly this team is not built to win shootouts consistently. Really, they probably should be 0-3 in the start of league play, and they really haven't played anybody. And to me, that's a significant concern because, I talked to Bill Self afterwards, and asked him a bunch of questions about, why does it seem like every time you guys play well in non-conference play for the last 3 years, and then when conference play comes around, you guys kind of just fall apart. Obviously, the team makeups have been different. And he talked about, margin of error and, how the league is just tough as a whole. But to me, like this Kansas team, with the record it has right now, the quality wins, who they play next, if they don't figure it out, they are in danger of losing and not winning or making it to the tournament, really. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd say that's completely fair, Shreyas. Shreyas, how do you expect Kansas fans to feel about the Darren Peterson situation?
I mean, obviously it's frustrating, right? But he's still playing 31, 32 minutes a game. This guy's a generational talent. Clearly, they haven't really figured out the right way of playing with him. I think they're getting better game in, game out. The UCF game, I think, was the worst game they had with him coming back, like where he just took a bunch of shots, and they didn't really quite figure out how to play with him. I think it's some level of like frustration because it's clear you can simulate everything you want in practice, but it does not mean anything come game time. Even if you say Bill Self says, hey, Darren Peterson is fully healthy, he has the burst, he has all this stuff going for him. We still haven't seen Darren Peterson play a full game, like 32 plus minutes. Like he's played 32 minutes, that's the parameter. But every time they've needed him down the stretch, it seems like they kind of sit him or, he's kind of like not fully healthy. And it's clearly affecting the way Kansas basketball can play because these guys are probably unsure of how to play with him on the court and off the court because they've had to kind of readjust on the fly so much over this year.
Shreyas, Kansas had 30 points in the paint in the first half and then 6 in the second half. What changed?
I mean, I think they just went cold, right? A lot of, jump shooting was also happening on Kansas' end. I think they were getting stonewalled when they drove to the rim. One of the things that I thought was interesting was Peterson has this tendency with him not being as healthy as he can be to take jump shots. Outside of the TCU game, he's been very jump shot reliant to score. I felt like there was a few times in this game that he could have probably just put his head down and drove and got to the rim a little more often. I thought, they also didn't play through their bigs. They probably should have played through Flory a little more. I think Flory has just been a little disappointing in Power 5 against Power 5 opponents that are good. I feel like he's just not been consistent enough on the scoring end of things to be the second option that Bill Self wants him to be. And then that's on Kansas to kind of get him the ball in the post, to get him paint touches. And they have to do a better job of giving entry passes to him.
Shreyas, you asked Bill Self about why this team has not been as good relative to their dominance over the Big 12, and it was a great question. I'm curious for your thoughts on his answer, and basically saying like, yeah, we're not as good. We don't have as many good players as we used to have.
I think it's a complete excuse, right? Like, I mean, yeah, you don't have as many good players as you used to have, but nor does anybody else, right? Like, now the playing field is even, and to me, like, I will give Bill Self the grace because he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's done a tremendous job. But since I've been on the beat, he hasn't made it past the second round. Like, you can take away the first year when he wasn't coaching, obviously. But, like, at a certain point, you can't live off past reputation. And it's, what have you done for me lately? And this year, this team has a generational talent. I don't care how many games he's played and he hasn't played. The team is good enough around him to make the NCAA tournament. And right now, they have 7 top 15 games remaining in the schedule. The way they've played against mediocre to bottom of the pack Big 12 teams doesn't give me a ton of confidence. Obviously, things can change. We've seen it happen. But last year, remember, they beat Iowa State, and everyone's like, okay, Kansas is back. And then they lost a bunch of games they shouldn't have lost. So for me, spare me the theatrics of, the league is hard, the margin of error is thinner. Okay, you're Kansas.
Right.
Figure it out.
Right.
Talking with Shreyas Latta from the Kansas City Star here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. I want to circle back to what you said about Flory Badunga. He didn't score in the second half. He had all 8 of his points in the first half. Where do you see his struggles magnified here in Big 12 play, and how does he fix them?
Well, I think the thing is he's not aggressive enough on offense, and I think Kansas doesn't really look to him to be the second option on offense. I think that's the big thing. And on top of that, I think he struggles against bigs that are bigger than him and more physical than him. He gets bullied on the other end, but also he struggles to kind of create enough space to go out there and do his little baby hooks and hook shots and all the things that he does around the rim. And I think for me, the issue with the Flory thing is, okay, if he's not the consistent second option, then everyone's role moves up like a tad. Especially with Darren Peterson being in and out of the lineup. You don't really know how many minutes he's going to play, how many minutes he's not going to play. So there's more importance in all the other guys to step up. And I think it puts more pressure on everybody else because Flory hasn't been able to give them consistent minutes where he is good on the offensive end. If you go look at his stat lines against the Notre Dame, like the Vegas tournament when they played some pretty competition, Notre Dame, Syracuse, he looks good. But when you look at when he's played UNC, Duke, UConn, etc., he just hasn't really found a way to be a positive on the offensive end they need him to be. They need at least 12 points from him on that end every game at the minimum, I think, especially with how many easy buckets he should be getting with Darren Peterson's passing ability and his gravity, etc. And they just need more from Flory, I think, for this team to make a run and figure it out, and on top of that, just turn around the season with the way they've been playing.
Shreyas, do you have any sense of what the Kansas team identity is, and not just this year, but since you've covered them?
Well, I thought this year's team was going to be junkyard dogs, right? They're supposed to be really good defensively. They were top 5 in the nation in defense until Christmas. Basically, they were one of the best perimeter defensive in the team, defensive teams in the nation. And then since Big 12 play started, they've been horrible. I think they're 14th in the conference right now in adjusted defensive efficiency, which is basically the amount of points given up per 100 possessions. They're averaging 120 points given up 100 possessions. That's just horrible. And to me, the most worrying thing is when I asked Bill Self about it, he seemed perplexed. He was like, well, we switched less against West Virginia. I have to go back and look at the tape. If Bill Self is confused on what is going on, to me that is a worry. And I know Bill Self figured out defense is his bread and butter, but it feels like if they're not junkyard dogs this year with the personnel they have, they should be junkyard dogs with Darren Peterson giving them enough on the offensive end, then I don't know what they are. They're a bad basketball team if they can't figure out their defense. And they really haven't had an identity, I think, in a while, since the KJ Adams center year, really.
So is Darren Peterson a defensive liability? Because the note you had about the efficiency numbers plummeting in Big 12 play, that's when Peterson's been back and he's been on the floor more than he's been off of the floor. So as good as he is offensively, what about his defense?
I think he can be better on defense, but I don't think he's a defensive liability, but I think he can definitely be better on defense. The issue is KU's bigs are getting cooked. Bryson Tiller is not ready for Big 12 competition. He's been bad on that end. Flory has not been great either. KU switch heavy defense. Teams are taking advantage of that and getting on the bigs on perimeter and scoring. And there's been plenty of times where KU's just dared guys to shoot wide open three-pointers, and they've been happy to do that, and then they make it. So that puts pressure on the KU to respond, which they don't have the shooting to do that on the other end. So to me, I think Darren Peterson can be a better defensive player. I think he's a pretty good help defender, and he can be better on the one-on-one side of things. But I thought overall, to me, when I look at it, I think it's a big issue than a Darren Peterson issue.
All right, what's the solve here, Shreyas? Is this thing going to get solved?
I think they're going to get, what's going to happen is tomorrow they're going to play Iowa State close, and everyone's going to be they're probably going to come off with a win because that's what happens here at Kansas and Allen Fieldhouse. And everyone's going to be they're back. To me, they're not back until they figure out their defense. And I have no idea how they're going to do that because Bill Self has no idea how he's going to do that. They're going to probably have to have some form of communication fixed. I think their lack of communication on the defensive end has been bad. Their switching has been bad. They just have to figure out a way to be better on the defensive end. And on the offensive end, they have to kind of find a flow for the other guys outside of Darren Peterson. I think Melvin Council talked about, how he realized he had to step up when Peterson was out. Why doesn't he do that when Peterson's out on the floor? I get it. You're trying to figure out how to play with him. But both these guys got to step up and play well alongside each other. And alongside that, I think, the other guys, like the role players, they just have to be better. I think there's been too many guys who have not given them anything. Cole Rosario, Jaden Dawson, Jamar McDowell, Marco Jackson. These guys are just not being consistent enough to give them help off the bench or even when they start.
Shreyas Latta from the Kansas City Star joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Shreyas, you've mentioned the NCAA tournament a couple of times. I mean, you don't think Kansas is in danger of being a team that misses the NCAA tournament, right?
I mean, they might.
James, they're 1-2. They only played UCF, West Virginia, and TCU so far. They still have to play Iowa State twice. They still have to play Arizona twice. Houston.
Yeah. They played some really bad big guys. West Virginia entered Saturday having the 347th hardest schedule in the country. They played nobody, and they were 10-5 coming into the game. They went out there and they dominated Kansas in the second half. There was no reason for Kansas to lose that game. I don't care how many times. This is the third iteration of West Virginia coach they've lost to, by the way, if you're keeping tally at home. They've lost to a third different West Virginia coach in the last 3 years. I just don't know what to make of it. If you want to look back on the last few years, they've just been bad on the road. And that's not something you can have for Kansas. Like, I'm tired of hearing Kansas players say, we're Kansas. Everyone's giving their best shot. If that's true, why did they not storm the court anymore? Why? They don't care. Guys, you guys are the 22nd ranked team in the country, about to be unranked now, probably when the AP Poll comes out in a few hours. You can't use the excuse of everyone's giving their best shot. Okay, sure. I'm sure people get up to play Kansas. It's Kansas. But you guys aren't top 10, top 5. Heck, you're not even top 15 or top 20. You can't give me that excuse. Figure it out. You're too good to be this bad. Too good on paper to be this bad. And they've shown they can be much better, as we saw in non-conference play. So, I think the blame is squarely on the players and Bill Self. Everyone wants to blame one or the other. I think everyone is fault in this game, and in this time they're playing this badly. And if they lose and continue to lose and not make the NCAA tournament, there has to be some questions to be asked about KU's inability to have the right roster constructed in the last few years in the NIL era, and how much is Bill Self wanting to stick around and figure this stuff out after 4 straight years of not making it past the second round.
Shreyas.
Yeah.
Some truth bombs
Bringing the thunder. All right, Shreyas, man, we appreciate your time. Great to catch up. Great insight. As always, we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
Shreyas Latta covers Kansas basketball and football for the Kansas City Star, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you, the full-time fan, by Modelo.
And Shreyas mentioned that they've lost 3 straight to 3 different West Virginia coaches, but it was Bob Huggins in 2022-2023, Josh Eilert in 23-24, Darren DeVries in 24-25, and now Ross Hodge in 25-26. So 4 straight years, 4 different coaches, 4 losses at WVU Coliseum.
And one of those losses was one of 8 wins that
9
year for Josh Eilert. 9, thank you.
9, and 4 in conference.
Brian Thornton, VP of men's basketball for the Big 12, coming up around the corner. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio and Big 12 on Big 12 Studios here exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on the Big 12 Fast channel, brought to you, the full-time fan, by our friends at Modelo. Here are the top dunks from last weekend's action.
Block extended down inside. Little bump it. Lorient tries to pass it, but Dunga's long arms takes it away.
Kansas' hands have been so active.
Whoa, and speaking of long arms on the other end, yeah, but you still had a great team.
That's a bad memory.
It's the only time you've been in this building until today.
That's
so
right.
Hope you're not haunted.
No wins and losses today.
Trey White up ahead. White flushes it down, and Kansas regains the lead.
That's a close to 40% three-point shooter and Sharp. Alley-oop. Oh, slammed down. Najee with a wham. And a 10-point game. Flemings attacking. Oh! Kingston handed it off to Sacco.
That's what created the space.
Now, if you're Pierre, you just have to know better. Look at this inside. Easy play.
Koa Pete the throwdown. But he is not going to play today for Oklahoma State. How do they pick up in his absence?
Well, they have to do it by committee. We talked about the guards, and Curry and Clary have to get it done. And, oh, my goodness, that's just way too easy.
As Nate Heisey has checked in for the first time for Iowa State. Plato also off the bench, and he rocks the rim.
If we're just joining us, it was Colorado that got off to the roaring start at home. They led it at one point 16-9. Great drop off. Toppin set it up.
Now Keita running the floor, and he missed the dunk.
Down low. That dunk goes down. James Okonkwo.
Driving seams for their guards.
Russ had it stolen away. Just had it taken away. He struggled a little bit. That's bounce pass. What a dunk from Dawes.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. We are brought to you, the full-time fan, by our friends at Modelo, our Big 12 basketball game of the week. Tomorrow, Iowa State at Kansas, 8 Eastern, 7 o'clock Central here on the channel. And then on Saturday, you can catch BYU at Texas Tech at 7 Eastern, 6 Central time here on Big 12 Radio and on Big 12 Studios. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Super hyped to have Brian Thornton, the VP of Big 12 men's basketball, in the house with us here in our Dallas studios. What's up, Brian?
What's going on? Appreciate you guys having me.
Man, you were just telling us during the break about all the different teams that you get to see in person during the season. And we asked, and I'd love you to share with our audience, that you made it to, all 16 venues over the last year plus?
I did. Last year, it was my first year being a part of the Big 12, and I wanted to make a point to show up everywhere, to go to every campus, have an opportunity to touch, see, feel the coaches, the administrators, the ADs, get to understand their facilities and, what makes each institution tick. So was very fortunate to get to do that. This year, I won't necessarily hit every single spot, but certainly have a goal to try to see every single team if possible.
One of the things we talked about earlier in the show is the top 4 teams of the Big 12 right now are 62-2. So, I mean, this is a dominant top of the Big 12. We talk about, leagues of parity or top heavy, and I don't know how good this conference is top to bottom, but I do know at the top it's very good.
Yeah, we certainly have 4 teams at the top that are bona fide Final Four contenders. You named off the number 62-2. That's pretty special. When the new AP poll comes out today, we'll likely have number 1 and number 2, and then BYU and Houston are right there nipping at the heels. So it's been fun to watch those teams. They have certainly been really good. We know what the Big 12 is over the course of the next month and a half or so. It's going to be a grind. To think that those teams are necessarily going to end up undefeated feels challenging. But if they can continue to play good ball, they'll certainly put themselves in great position.
And not necessarily to say that they're going to be undefeated. That seems ridiculous. But is this as good as the league has ever been? I mean, you've been a part of this is year 2 for you, and the league's been very good, but it's never been this good, I don't think.
It certainly probably hasn't been this good at the top. The top is undeniable, as we just said. When you think about what Arizona has been able to do over the course of the last couple months, Iowa State consistently knocking at the door, and then BYU and Houston are everything as advertised. And then right behind that, Texas Tech is playing really good basketball as well. Obviously they had a tough loss to Houston last week at Houston, which we know was a tremendous atmosphere. But, they have 2 of the top 6 or 7 potential players in the Big 12 on their team. So when you have that kind of star power at the top, you can beat anybody on any single day.
Yeah, just comparing leagues, the Big 12 has the nation's best winning percentage in non-conference games, true road games, and games against other Power 4 conferences. Like, that speaks for itself in terms of this being the best basketball league in America.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. And Commissioner Yormark has kind of coined the term that this is the second best basketball league in the entire country behind the NBA. And, we believe that. We certainly have parity across the line. You named off those stats. Those are things that we focused on as a league. The importance of non-conference scheduling, the importance of not just scheduling well, but winning those games that matter, especially when you think about what NCAA tournament seeding, making the NCAA tournament looks like, building those resumes. And when we went from 20 games to 18 games, it's something we spent a lot of time with our coaches focused on. How do you replace the fact that there's 2 less Big 12 games on your resume? And you have to do it through great non-conference scheduling. And our coaches took that and they ran with it. And they've done a great job so far.
How would you evaluate, the change this year with coaches having the challenge versus going to the monitor when situations arise? I mean, has it helped expedite the game so far? It's obviously early, but just kind of curious for some early returns on that significant change.
Well, I think that the concept is good. It's still a little bit clunky. I think there's still some times where there's some indecision. Coaches are still trying to figure out what's the best time to potentially utilize those challenges. The lag time between when a coach challenges and, they go to look at it and then they go to break and then they come back from break and then, you lost a timeout. It's that part probably needs to be smoothed out a little bit. I do think there's some things that could be changed, potentially even allowing teams to utilize a challenge when they have no timeouts, especially late in the game. You could always penalize them with a technical foul or something like that where coaches have some skin in the game, but also provide them an opportunity that if they feel like I absolutely have to challenge late because there could be a potential missed call, they have a lever to pull. But you certainly would have to have some skin in the game in order to do that.
Yeah, I love the challenge rule so far, and I saw it in my game on Saturday. Jerome Tang challenged a call in the first half, and he got it right, so he got one in the second half. But remind me, is it inside of 1 minute or 2 minutes that coaches cannot challenge, that it's only the officials, right?
No. Inside of 2 minutes, there's a few calls that become calls that officials can automatically review. That would be goaltending, for example. where that doesn't require a coach's challenge in order to look at that, the officials can go right to the monitor. But if you want to challenge an out-of-bounds call, that still remains a challengeable call, not something that's an auto for officials.
Wow, okay, because there was a ball out of bounds that the K-State players were saying they needed to challenge, and Tang didn't, and I just assumed it was because he couldn't, so that's good to know.
Well, it could be because, one, his entire staff is looking at iPads, and they're trying to look at what they saw, and they might have saw that it was not off of the opponent, the Arizona State's player. So that could have been one of the things. It could have also been a situation where he had one timeout left, and the risk reward of are you burning that timeout and then not having an opportunity to set up a late game shot or set up your defense late. So you have to be really thinking about, is this the right time to utilize it?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I'm curious, how often are you talking with administrators or coaches during the season? Is there much engagement with coaches and administrators during the season?
There is. I talk to administrators quite a bit. It could be ADs, it could be sport administrators. I'm probably talking to somebody every single day. Coaches, when I go to a location, I certainly spend some time talking to them. If I go to practice, I spend a lot more. But if I go to a game, I certainly always want to pop in, check in on the coaches, see if they need anything. I like to go to shoot-arounds because that's a little bit more relaxed. You get to see how they're preparing, how they're prepping, and then talk to them about not only the micro of what's going on right now with their teams, but also the macro of questions about what do you think about the landscape that we're dealing with? Are there things that we could be doing to help advocate in a way that puts not just the Big 12 but your institution in the right spot?
Chatting with Brian Thornton, the VP of Big 12 men's basketball here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. Now, the NCAA tournament, it's not expanding for this current season that we're in. And I'm reading that the kind of deadline is sometime in April to see if we're going to expand for the 26-27 season. Is that correct?
Yeah, that seems accurate. We've been hearing about expansion for a while. Years.
I thought it had happened, actually.
And it hadn't happened.
Okay.
We're still at 68, but there is the thought that we can move to 76 or 72 in the coming years. There's more to it than just adding teams. There's the media rights negotiations. It's expensive to add that many teams to the tournament. Adding locations, things of that nature. So it certainly would provide more opportunities to teams across the country, but it's not as easy as this, kind of waving a magic wand and saying we're going to add 6 or 8 teams.
Yeah, I'm curious. We talked about the top, but who are some other teams maybe underrated that are have piqued your interest that you're watching and you're like, oh, this is a team that is maybe under the radar right now, and maybe it's a couple of teams.
Yeah, there are a couple of teams, and you certainly named off the kind of the games of the week. Obviously tomorrow you got Iowa State, Kansas, and on Saturday you got BYU, Texas Tech. Huge games, ranked teams, marquee names. But then my mind automatically goes to some of these other matchups that are coming up. We have a Baylor, Oklahoma State tomorrow. When you think about what that matchup looks like, Oklahoma State has had a really nice year, a resurgence. They're 1-2 in the league, so a win there puts them at 2-2. They're kind of off and running. They only have, I think 3 losses on the season. All of a sudden, they kind of put themselves into the conversation of a bona fide NCAA tournament team. Baylor, a team that has a lot of new parts. They've obviously added James Najee in recent weeks. But now that's a team that is predicted to be, a team that's an NCAA tournament team, but they're 0-3 in the league right now. And so that's a matchup that automatically kind of highlights to me is who wins that type of matchup. Central Florida has had a great start to the year. Big wins in the last couple weeks. They beat Cincinnati last night. They play against Kansas State, who probably hasn't had the year that they've wanted to or expected, but they're uber talented and they're very, very capable of scoring 90 points in a game. So can UCF kind of keep it going and go 3-1 in the league, or do they kind of hit a roadblock against a team like Kansas State to kind of maybe stop some of that momentum, but maybe does that give Kansas State some momentum? So there's a lot of those games like that, and that speaks to the parity of the league and the consistency and how all these games truly, truly matter.
When you look at what took place over the weekend, with Arizona winning at TCU, with Houston beating Baylor the way that they did on the road, to me, that said a lot about just how dominant these teams are, like when you go on the road in this league and you win like that, I mean, that just doesn't happen unless you are an elite national championship type team.
100%. You know, Houston has the ability to go on significant runs like that. I want to say that I saw a stat that maybe they had a run where it was 20-3 or something like that, and it just kind of goes to show what their defense is capable of. You know, Houston is a very unique team. Obviously, they returned 3 all-conference level players, and Kingston Flemings has probably been their best player all year.
Right.
So when you think about what the potential is for Houston, although they're a fairly veteran-laden team, they probably haven't reached their potential quite yet. You know, when you get Milos Uzan or Emmanuel Sharp or JoJo Tugler playing at their very best, that's going to take Houston up another notch.
You know, I ask this to anytime we have like a national reporter on that covers the league or covers, you know, the sport nationally. Like, how many bids do you think the Big 12 is in position to get right now? It feels like all the numbers I've heard are under my expectation, like 7 or 8. How often are you evaluating that? And, you know, and I guess what are you using to evaluate that?
Well, last year we got 7. And, you know, our hope and our expectation is that number is higher this year.
Right.
Whatever that is that 7, 8, 9 to be determined. You know, there's a lot of games that have to be played.
Right.
You know, but part of it is we want to have teams that are in position to advance once they get there. You know, we talked about the 4 teams at the top. Those are all bona fide Final Four type contenders right now. And then the teams that are kind of positioned after them, it's a big group. You know, we mentioned some of those teams, whether it's Oklahoma State or UCF. Colorado's had a great start to the year. They're 2-1 in the conference. So we're trying to figure out what the pecking order is. And, you know, fortunately, I get to spend time with the selection committee every couple weeks where we go over our teams, and it's a change every single time we talk. You know, a team like Kansas, hopefully they can hit their stride as well. You know, they certainly have the talent to be a top 10 team in the country, but with Darren Peterson not necessarily being as healthy as you would want, they're still trying to figure out who they are to a certain extent. Once they find it, all of a sudden they could really make a jump. But again, they have a big week ahead of them as well with Iowa State and then Baylor on Friday.
Joe Lunardi currently Joey Brackets has 8 Big 12 teams in, with a 9th team, Baylor, his first 4 out. So in a position to get 8 or 9 and maybe even more, because Colorado and Oklahoma State I don't see here just looking at this quickly. Bottom line is the league's in a really, really good spot in terms of there's Oklahoma State, part of his next 4 out. I still think they could be a tournament team. They passed the eye test to me. When you evaluate these teams, like, how much of it is you're an administrator for the Big 12, but also, like, you have an extensive coaching resume. So, I mean, you have that coach mindset too. How do you balance those two things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate to have a little bit of a different lens that I look at the games through. I enjoy going to practice just as much as I enjoy going to the games. And, you know, kind of when you think about some of those teams that you named, one of the tools that we look to evaluate is, have our teams done enough during the non-conference that if they can go 500 in the Big 12, which we know is a complete grind, that they should be an NCAA tournament team. You know, having 8, 9, 10 teams in the tournament would be great, but when you have 16 teams, there's automatically going to be some cannibalization that takes place where not everybody can kind of reach that magic number, that threshold, especially kind of in that middle zone. So, you know, hopefully teams can win some of those games, and we can get several teams in that 10-8, 9-9 range where we make it very difficult for the committee to make some decisions, and then that allows us to really speak to what we did in the non-conference. The fact that we did have the best non-conference record, the fact that we did have the most wins against the P4 in the Big East. We expect to be treated in the same way that the SEC was last year when they were the number 1 conference and they got a plethora of teams into the tournament. So treat us with the same level of respect once we get there.
Yeah, completely agree. Brian, how many years did you coach college basketball?
I did 10 years.
Wow. At which stops?
I coached at Xavier, which is my alma mater.
That's right.
Furman University, Winthrop University, and Ball State before I spent time at the NCAA headquarters. So I know I don't look like it, but no, I did 10 years of
No, you do. You do, man. I was about to
Call him
drop
old?
Xavier.
Is that what you're saying?
It felt like that's what he was going for.
No, you look very old, Brian. Don't worry.
Well played. All right, Brian. Anything else?
No, I'm all good. Look forward to continuing to do this with you guys.
Yeah, this is great.
Awesome.
Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate your time. Brian Thornton, VP of Big 12 Men's Basketball, as we break down everything from this past weekend. We'll have Honesty Hour coming up next. Truth from the Coaches Podium. You'll hear from Kevin Young, Jerome Tang, Scott Drew, Grant McCaslin, and many, many others here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn.
Here are the top plays from last weekend's action.
Houston's got a steal as well. Kara Merchant, this is a 5-0 run.
10 seconds to go in the quarter. Shot clock at 3 here. Nunez throws it away. Tbilisi has 3 seconds left. She pulls up from 3 and hits.
Nice.
8 seconds to go in the half. Nunez. Still Nunez, knifes her way inside.
There. Ison can't get the finish, though. Boy, quick transition. Cornfield, the crossover, and that gets blocked out of bounds.
And no Cotton today for K-State. Garcia working down to the baseline, pinned, passes to size. She'll shoot a long 3 and drill it.
Looked like the old Staley hurt in terms of enforcing and imposing her will in that offensive end.
There's Desiree Wooten with a mid-range finish.
And they're on like an 85, 90-point pace.
Harrison, the 3. Got it at the horn. What a shot by Jordan Harrison as she finishes the first half. The Mountaineers trying to win yet another Big 12 Conference road game. They've won 2 already this season. Here's Riviere. The spin back, the jumper, gets it to go at the horn.
Talia Scott off to the races. There's your punctuation on a 4-game winning streak in the Big 12.
Miles underneath to Basham, the no-look feed for 2, and the TCU offense is fully engaged now. Margin of the game at 25. Silva, hand in the passing lane. Miles comes down with it. Bouncer inside. Hunter, how did she find her?
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. If you missed any of our guest interviews, we podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and right here on TuneIn on demand. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Had Brian Thornton, the VP of everything that is Big 12 men's basketball. What are you working on?
Had to plug my headphones in. Also just like shocked myself a little bit. So
that'll get you going.
Yeah.
Ari got electrocuted. On what happened, I'll go home. My wife will say, "How was the show?" Ari got electrocuted. A lightning bolt. Inject that into my veins. You can hear everything's good now?
Yeah.
Everything's good?
Yeah, I hear a ringing too, but other than that, I think I'm fine.
Like, I've got a lot of questions. A lot of questions. You do seem a little more alert. Like, you're very much full of life now.
Yeah, before I was just dead.
And maybe voltage.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Shreyas Latta, the Kansas.
Full of life and voltage. By the way, Shreyas Latta said it like it is. He told it like it is, and that is, you know, we asked him about Kansas not being as good. He asked Bill Self basically, like, you guys aren't as good. What's the deal? And Self's answer was basically like, we're not as good as we used to be personnel-wise.
Yeah.
And Shreyas Latta's like, yeah, you're Kansas.
Right.
Kind of like, that's on you. Interesting stuff from Shreyas.
Yeah, I thought so too. And part of me thinks, I don't know, I guess I'm not quite ready to go there, but something tells me this might be Bill Self's last year. I mean, he told us at Big 12 Media Days that he thought about retiring this past offseason. And with NIL and the recent struggles, and like, what else does he have to prove? He's won a billion Big 12 championships. He's won multiple national championships. He has grandkids now. He has an obligation, or I guess obligation's not the right word, but he enjoys spending time with his family now with the grandkids more than ever before. You know, he's been very outspoken about the family aspect of his life, and he wasn't always that way. It was just always basketball, basketball, basketball. That's all he would talk about. He also told us that he loves to golf. Like, he's loves to be on the course. I mean, Bill Self strikes me as a guy that would be just fine with retirement, and part of me starting to think this might be it.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's won 2 national championships. He's been to 4 Final Fours. He's a Hall of Fame coach and all-timer. They won 14 straight Big 12 championships, which is just an insane thing, and completely dominated this league. But this program right now does not resemble that program in any capacity, and you wonder if part of what made Bill Self and Kansas great during that period of time is no longer available to them, which is why they're no longer great. Has Bill Self evolved enough from a personnel and team acquisition standpoint and from a schematics standpoint? I think that's where we're at now. I mean, these last 2 years, think about this. Bill Self was never lower than a 4 seed until last year. I mean, this point, we're wondering whether or not they make the tournament. They're 1-2 with some great non-conference wins, but if they don't get to 9-10 conference wins this year, they may not get to the tournament.
Yeah.
And that's an indictment on Bill Self.
And Kansas has the longest NCAA tournament appearance streak in the country. That would come to an end.
Yeah, they won the championship in 88, missed the tournament in 89, have made the tournament every year since.
Every single
That is insane.
year.
It is insane.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go around the horn here in the Big 12 Conference. Hear from some of the other coaches in this league. Kansas State suffered a loss at Arizona State. Jerome Tang says Kansas State doesn't play like they like each other on the floor. Take a listen.
This team has great camaraderie. That's not an issue. The chemistry off the court is not an issue. It's the chemistry on the court. Like they don't always play like they really like each other, but you see them off the court and you'd be like, man, them dudes love each other, right? And so we need to like bring that on the floor. And one of the reasons, not that they don't like each other or that they feel like they can make the play rather than us making the play. And we got to get them switched to us, because when we play for us and we get assisted shots, we're really good.
That's culture, that's buy-in, that is on the coach to get guys to play on a basketball court like they like each other as much as they do off the floor.
So you were front and center for this game. Your K-State Wildcats, you did a great job of the call there on Peacock. What have you determined is wrong with Kansas State basketball this year from the game you sat courtside there?
K-State had a 2-point lead at halftime. It whittled away in the second half, and to me it was a lot of hero ball. So when Tang says, I've got to make the play versus we need to make the play, I see what he's talking about, because there are times where there's a lot of dribbling, there's not a lot of connectivity offensively. It's get the ball to P.J. Haggerty, let him go to work. And Haggerty did not have a great day shooting. Haggerty didn't get the calls that he typically gets at home. And when you have a guy like Abdi Bashir who hits 6 threes in the game and is absolutely on fire, you find ways to get him more looks. And then Masamba Diop, Kansas State just doesn't have a 7-footer on that level. He is an elite player and a major bright spot for Arizona State. So, yeah, that's I see what he's talking about, but it's on him to fix it.
Didn't Coach Tang say that they'd be competing for a Big 12 championship?
If he did, he was wrong. Because this team's 0-3 and 9-7 on the season.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you cannot win a Big 12 championship in 3 games, I mean, you can't win a Big 12 championship in 3 games, but you can lose it in 3 games.
And I think the bar is to make the NCAA tournament. He's missed the last 2, and it could be 3 in a row. Out in Utah, Kevin Young on Richie Saunders, who went nuts on the glass for BYU's 89-84 road win at Utah.
Yeah, I mean, Richie's will to win is just like nothing I've ever been around. He all wanted to get a win for him here his senior year. And, he's possessed, man, in a good way. He just wasn't going to lose, bottom line.
And to me, that's the difference between teams like BYU and Arizona and Iowa State and Houston, even Texas Tech with Christian Anderson. Like, they have guys that refuse to lose and will do whatever it takes. And for Richie Saunders to go out there and grab a career-high 14 rebounds, like, that is leaving it all out on the floor. And that, to me, is what separates the top half and the bottom half of this league, or having guys like that.
So see Anthony37 on Twitter, Canthony37 on YouTube, I should say, on our YouTube thread, asks, is KU not carrying the torch detrimental to the Big 12, or is the torch in good hands of the other top teams? I would say of the 4 top teams we're talking about here, remember, the top 4 teams in the Big 12 right now, Houston, Iowa State, Arizona, and BYU are 62-2. That's an unbelievable start for the top of the Big 12. Now, we talk a lot about brand on this show, and especially as it pertains to football, the Big 12 not having as much of a brand. I would say of anybody that comes close from a brand standpoint to be Arizona. But yeah, to a degree, it is detrimental because Kansas has a brand that is in some ways unprecedented. Now, Arizona has a really good brand, which helps. Brand matters in terms of drawing attention to your team at the top, right? So that's like the Big 12 is as good at the top as it's ever been. In fact, you could argue the Big 12 is better now than it's ever been. But in terms of having like top brands at the top, that's the part where it's a struggle a bit. Mm-hmm. Arizona is. Now, Iowa State and BYU and Houston don't care because they win basketball games and they're going to be fighting for Final Four teams. So brand be damned. But in terms of answering that question, in terms of carrying the torch for the Big 12, yeah, having a brand and brand equity matters to a degree in terms of, cultivating television audiences and whatnot. But again, how much does it really matter? We talk a lot about brand from a negative standpoint a lot when it comes to football. So here we are talking out of both sides of our mouth.
Yeah, and I don't think it's detrimental, but I do think it would be very helpful if Kansas was in the conversation. But I would say the league has enough pedigree with what they've done in the postseason in the modern era, with Houston making the national championship game last year. They've been to multiple Final Fours. Arizona was always kind of the brand in the Pac-12, even though UCLA is their version of Kansas. That is their blue blood, but it was Arizona that was putting together better seasons consistently in the last decade or so. And I just think Iowa State and BYU are too new. Like, they're too new to the conversation. BYU has just entered the chat, but they made noise in last year's NCAA tournament. And again, March, those are the games that matter in terms of a brand awareness. Like, everybody remembers what Florida did and Auburn did last year. And so I wouldn't say it's detrimental yet. It's helpful when they're really good. But I think there's enough at the top to carry the league. Great question.
Yeah.
Great question. Great topic.
question. And, of course, people following along and commenting on the Big 12 Conference channel along Big 12 Studios.
All right, Tommy Lloyd says that Arizona is incredibly physical. We know that about Arizona, but here's what he said after their 13-point win at TCU.
100%. We knew how hard it's going to be. I mean, I know how good of a coach Jamie is. He's been doing this for a long time, and I knew how physical the game was going to be. I understand what Big 12 games are. Yeah, I mean, I thought our guys did a great job. I mean, I feel really good how the game went. Obviously, I feel great about the result. And, we knew coming in. I mean, when you really do a deep dive on TCU, they had lost 4 games by a combined 14 points. And they haven't lost in regulation since, November something. So, this was a team that has a lot of fight in it, and they're well coached. They have a lot of pride as a program, and they're playing at home, and we expected a response out of them. When things looked like they were going well for us, we knew that they were going to keep coming, and credit to them, they did.
Arizona just takes care of business. They don't get rattled. They have remarkable poise. They have veteran leadership, guys that have been there like Jaden Bradley who know what it takes. And that is carried down to the freshmen like Braden Burries, like Koa Pete. And then Del Orso was there last year. Tobe Awaka knows what it takes to win in this league. Mo Krivas knows what it takes. They have the perfect blend of youth and experience, and they were on a mission in Fort Worth on Saturday.
Arizona has at least 5 guys that shoot at least 5 shots per game, averaging over 50% shooting from the floor. Koa Pete is shooting about 10.5 field goals per game at 56.5%. Braden Burries is shooting 10.7 shots per game, 50%. Jaden Bradley is shooting 8 shots per game, 53%. Krivas is shooting 6 shots per game at nearly 60%. And then Tobe Awaka is shooting 6 shots per game at 58%. That is an unbelievable number. And by the way, Del Orso's at 42% on 8 shots a game, and Karachenkov is at 47% on 7 shots a game. So a sixth is right there, 47%.
Incredible. It's easy to shoot 50% from the floor when all your shots are 8-footers, right. And they get anywhere they want on the court.
That's the point, right? Is they shoot a bunch of good looks that go in, and that's 5 guys at 50%. Like, that's a big-time number.
Yeah.
Normally, you're looking at a team that's got like 1 7-footer that's at that number. Yep. To have 5 guys like that?
And several of those guys are perimeter players who can get to the rack. All right, so Baylor's 0-3 in Big 12 play. They just added James Najee. Scott Drew had this to say about if Baylor can turn it around.
I mean, anytime you play, you got a chance to turn it around. But I think this team's got a lot of unique challenges that we probably haven't had since our first year. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the great thing is every night's a good win opportunity in the Big 12. So everybody signed up to play against the best. We got to figure out a way to beat them.
This team has unique challenges that we haven't had since our first year, which was 2003, when Baylor went 8-21.
Yeah, those were some unique challenges. Just at looking at the off-the-court stuff that were challenging for Baylor that year. I mean, they didn't have very many scholarship spots available. Remember, they were in a very bad situation because a player had killed another player. Mm-hmm. And then the head coach tried to cover it up. That's what he's referring to, by the way.
And I think, Scott Drew, from a roster construction standpoint, now sees that they just don't have the dudes that they have historically had.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is victim of the transfer portal and NIL. Biggest thing that I see, and King McClure is the one that pointed it out, is Baylor just doesn't have a point guard. And they had an all-league point guard in like 20 of the last 21 seasons. And even last year with Rob Wright. They don't have a point guard. They brought in Obi Agbem, who's more of an off guard. He prefers to play off the ball. And after him, it's Isaac Williams, who's a transfer from Texas A&M Corpus Christi and is a really good energy guy off the bench. But in a league where there are point guards up and down this conference, even on teams that aren't in the top half, that are elite playmakers, that's where Baylor's behind the 8 ball.
When I look at this team, Baylor, overall as a program, they have lost their ways on the defensive end. When they won a national championship, they were the top defense in college basketball. And, you know, do you need to be the best defense in college basketball? No. But they've just been, I mean, very bad by their standard on defense. And it's, you know, I look at the way that Bill Self has constructed rosters, and I don't know that Scott Drew has the same advantages that Bill Self would have in terms of building rosters. And that would be the historical context. That would be the money. I don't know that Scott Drew has the same. So it's maybe a little bit more of an excuse for Scott Drew that he has been able to recruit the type of players that he can run, to have a really good defense. But, I mean, you go back and look at the defenses they've had the last 5 years. They've been atrocious.
Mm-hmm. You know, in the last 5 years, I haven't seen as much zone. I mean, they were a team
Well, they don't have the players to play that. That's their, to me, the biggest issue.
You know, and I look at this team this year, and I totally agree with that the last couple of years. But when you add a James Najee, who is every bit of 7'1", long, athletic, Cameron Carr on the wing is 6'6", but he has a 7'2" wingspan and an 8'10" standing reach. Like, he's an incredible athlete. And then Yesufu, like, I see long, big perimeter players, and I just wonder if they should maybe play a little bit more zone, which T.J. Otzelberger said they usually try it at the start of games because that's what Iowa State was anticipating. We didn't see it until the second half in that game, or late in the first half, when it was already kind of out of reach. And, man, Baylor plays at Oklahoma State, at Kansas, their next 2 games, and then come back home against Texas Tech. You talk about a brutal stretch to start league play for the Bears.
Well, I think we're about to find out in these next 3-4 games in the Big 12 what that second tier looks like. I think we have a pretty good sense of the top tier. I think we have a decent sense of, has UCF broken through? Are they part of that second tier? Has Colorado broken through? Are they part of that second tier? Texas Tech, Baylor, Kansas were supposed to be in that second tier. Are they? So I think we know who the top tier is. It's obvious. The 4 best teams are obviously the 4 best teams. To me, it's that second tier right now that's sort of up in the air because there could be UCF and Colorado. It could be Kansas and Baylor. It could be, I mean, Texas Tech's probably a part of that, but have we seen enough to put them there yet? I think that's kind of where we're going to find out the next 2 weeks, 4 games or so.
Totally agree. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo. We pivot over to college football. Coming up next, Chris Kleiman, the exit plan nobody else is brave enough to make. Also, America loves an underdog, but apparently college football doesn't. Then we've got Fran Fraschilla coming up around 9:20 Central here on Big 12 Radio. Here are the top assists from last weekend's action.
There are 2 offensive rebounds here for the Lady Raiders. Bristow stuck. Here's Fritz now. Sonego inside
from Portland, Oregon.
And she's got 4 points. Serrato with her first bucket. Sugapong goes down.
K-State will start a little different today. No Janessa Cotton because of the incident that occurred in the Houston game. Jordan Spicer gets to start.
In a previous stop. And they want her to have the green light, particularly from long range.
Inside, an open look and a finish for Ariana Gooden.
You see the pressure right there on Kirk. Watch this flash. Timmer loses sight. That's really good from the freshman. Right.
Williams surveying. The lob into Crooks, who will finish.
Already we're seeing a lot more movement.
As Davis denies Baylor another offensive rebound. Whipped inside, down low, and no choice but to score. Lily Meister. A couple years in the SEC. And has been a day 1 leader for Baylor out there. And Dariana Lopez-Buggs with some offense.
Miles. Underneath to Basham. The no-look feed for 2. And the TCU offense is fully engaged now. Margin of the game at 25. Silva, hand in the passing lane. Miles comes down with it. Bouncer inside. Hunter, how did she find her? Wants an appeal, and they're going to appeal. Wow, look at that.
Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you the full-time fan by our friends at Modelo. He's Ari Timken on social at Ari Sports, ARI Sports. I'm James Westling on social at James Westling. Anthony Smith is back at the Big 12 Studios headquarters doing the video stuff, and we've got T-Chains, Taman Turner, on the board here on the audio side. Modelo fan rule number 43. Shoulder pads on pets count as spirit wear.
Do you put shoulder pads on your animals?
You know, we don't do shoulder pads. I've actually never dressed a pet, but have I looked on Amazon on short notice for some spirit wear? Yes, I have. It didn't come to fruition. It was going to have to be an Etsy thing. It was going to be very specific. So I just had AI build an image of our pets wearing the aforementioned spirit wear.
Got it. Okay.
Send it off as the real thing.
Makes total sense.
Right.
Yep.
It's all about appearances. You know that. All right, let's talk a little let's get into some college football. So, Indiana crushes Oregon. College football championship will be Miami and Indiana, just like we all saw coming. But also the Manhattan Mercury out of Manhattan, Kansas, finally got to sit down with Chris Kleiman, who's been pretty quiet since he retired. And I think the Chris Kleiman Kansas State situation in a league that has seen an incredible amount of coaching turnover that we did not anticipate, especially at the places that it's happened, with Iowa State and Matt Campbell going to Penn State and Kyle Whittingham not coming back at Utah. He's now at Michigan. Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy getting canned early in the year. But the Chris Kleiman piece is really interesting, this article from the Manhattan Mercury, because it was a very controlled exit. Like after K-State's final regular season game, he decided on that Monday that it was just too much. He was worried about his health, his physical health. A lot of K-State insiders that we've had on the show have talked about his mental health and how they could see a change in him. And I just think it says a lot about the person that Chris Kleiman is, that he did this very strategically. He called Colin Klein, effectively choosing his successor before it was made public, because he said, if I'm getting out, I don't want him to take another job and then I get out. That wouldn't be very good for Kansas State. And then also, this is kind of what we speculated, Chris Kleiman was just kind of over the current state of college football, and he left millions on the table. Had he continued to coach and been fired, he had a $22 million payout. If he coached out his contract, he would have made closer to $30 million if he stuck it out. But he notes that, you get done playing Colorado, K-State's final regular season game, and come Monday, there's 20 agents that want to know a number right away, deciding if their athlete's going to enter the portal. And he just got tired of contract season versus recruiting season. Nearly every player has an agent, and he wanted to coach football, and that's ultimately why he stepped away.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of at my wit's end. I don't blame any of these kids. It's not their fault, but you get done playing Colorado, and come Monday, man, there's 20 players that want to know a number or they're ready to hit the portal, like you just said. I mean, that says a lot. I mean, the quote of all quotes here is the title of the article, "I'd die if I kept doing this job," end quote. That stands out. Well, then it's a good thing you walked away, because nobody wants a dead Chris Kleiman.
And he cites that his blood pressure was through the roof, that he was worried about a risk of a heart attack or a stroke, and that his stress was just as much about the ecosystem of college football as it was about the wins and losses, especially with the roster cuts that teams had to make. He said that having to cut 20 players because of the expected 105-man roster limit was one of the most difficult things he's ever had to do, and then the rule is reversed.
Right, so he didn't even have to do it?
I mean, he was furious, and they lost a lot of those kids. And I think that says a lot about, like, the ultimate players coach we think are just, coaches that players like. This is a players coach from a mentor, dad vibes, leadership position that Chris Kleiman had, and I just thought it was really cool.
What was your biggest takeaway from this piece? Because there's a lot of really interesting things, really interesting quotes that we heard from the former coach.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is the fact that, the NIL transfer portal era is just as chaotic as it's ever been. And the wins and losses are one thing, but then after the final regular season game, to essentially be threatened by a departure from 20 or more athletes whose agents are on the phone wanting to know what their number is going to be next year, like, that really paints a dark picture on college football. And I just wonder if there's not other coaches out there that might be leaning towards the same thing. Or if you don't play by the rules and you're Mike Gundy and you just don't pick up the phone, you end up losing your job because the losses start to pile up and it's just too many.
Quote, "We don't have any guardrails and rules. Anybody could do whatever the heck they want, and that for all of us coaches, not just myself at Kansas State. I've talked to many coaches across the country. We're kind of like, we need some guardrails that somebody can't spend $45 million while somebody else is spending 15, end quote. Yeah, easy for the coach spending 15 to know, that they don't want anybody spending 45. That's kind of how the way the world works. The guardrails you're looking for is something we've talked a lot about, which is they need to collectively bargain, and until that happens, there are not going to be any guardrails.
Mm-hmm. Chris Kleiman is 50.
My biggest takeaway is it's a good thing for Kansas State fans that he's walking away, because a lot of interesting stuff in here. Not to say I don't buy it, but sorry, that's how this thing is set up now. And I understand you coached and mentored a lot of really good people and players. And Chris Kleiman is one of the fronts at the front of the line for great coaches in terms of what he did for players and mentorship and legitimate coaching. But it's a different world, and you need a coach that embraces the different world.
Exactly.
Not a coach that continually complains about the different world. And not to say he did, because he didn't, but he did to a degree, and I think coming out in this article he does. And not to say that he's not right. It's just a different time. And things are not going back the way that they used to be.
Right.
The quicker that programs realize that, the better off they're going to be. There is no magic pill that is going to send us back to what it was. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's a good thing.
Yeah. Very well said. Your takeaway is spot on. It was time. After reading this and seeing the quotes and the reasons why he stepped away, it was time. And it was unexpected at the time, but if he'd been feeling that way truly for the last year or year plus, it was time. It was time. And he puts K-State in a really hopefully positive position with Colin Klein, because if he had thought about it for another week or 2 weeks, Colin Klein is probably coaching somewhere else next season. So the timing of it all and the way it all went down, really, really unique to college football. All right, speaking of college football, America loves an underdog, but apparently college football doesn't. Indiana being accused of cheating. Hey, maybe they're just that good. We'll also take a look at the transfer portal before we talk with Fran Fraschilla, ESPN college basketball analyst, here in about 20 minutes. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios.
Black, and the tip belongs to the visiting Houston Cougars. Baylor coming off a pedestrian offensive performance. It's at 5. Yesufu, he drains it. Get ready. They can score it. Dan Skilling, Cincinnati transfer. Shot clock at 7. Deep 3. It's good. Cameron Carr is driving.
Thought they had a wide open layup.
McCarty, no. Houston's been on the offensive glass. They've got 3. Uzan can't catch, and this has been a 2 for 13 start. Now Sharp, he breaks up the drought. There's number 21. Shot clock at 10 for Uzan. It's so many clutch shots last March Madness. Harwell delivers. And a fellow Cougar, we're all over that. Here's Harwell without hesitation. He drains it. Isaiah Harwell.
Don't panic if you're Baylor. Move it side to side. Continue to take high percentage shots. There's one.
Off-ball movement. You think about Chris Sinak as we get a 3 here for Baylor. That is off. And you're talking about a guy, 5 stars next to his name, chose Houston over Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Baylor, Kentucky, Louisville, and more, and Sharp.
They were a possession away from winning the Natty last year, and he is still the same Kelvin Sampson, the energy, the toughness, and he's got an eye for talent.
Open 3, swishes home for Skillings. Has had a day. To his fellow freshman Flemings. They look like upperclassmen.
And the big money hasn't come into basketball until the last couple decades, but Izzo and Kelvin, they just like to get guys better like that.
Harwell! The Cougars on the nation's leading 16-game road win.
Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. We're back. We're going to do it live. He's Ari, I'm James. We're also on Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast Channel, brought to you by Modelo.
Houston, BYU, Arizona, Iowa State, 62-2. They not like us.
They are not like us.
No. They not like us.
They are not like us.
You got to get rid of the R. They not like us.
I'm all about articulation. They are not like us.
They not like us.
I'm working really hard to make sure that I can get rid of this Texas twang that you accuse me of on a regular basis.
The Texas twang.
Kansas, Texas, it's all the same. I refuse to say y'all.
They not like us, James.
They not like us.
Thank you.
Y'all not like us.
Y'all not like us,
yeah,
says Taman. Did you watch the Indiana-Oregon game?
I did.
56-22.
I think Indiana just scored again.
Like, how many players could you name on Indiana's football team not named Fernando Mendoza? Right? Size per segment, elite sign during this segment, hitting at an all-time clip. But my favorite is Indiana was so dominant in this game that the social media cheating conspiracy, if there's a will, there's a way. Indiana has intercepted the ball on their first defensive series in 5 different games this season. So the conspiracy theories are all over the internet that they're cheating. Here's a guy who just breaks down that they're exceptionally well prepared. Could it be that?
I mean, at this point, I'm willing to buy literally anything. I mean, yes, Indiana is cheating 100%. I mean, yeah, it's remarkable. This was widely considered to be the losingest program in the history of college football. Between 1899 and 2025, James, Indiana had 508 wins and 692 losses with 38 ties. That is over 128 seasons, 692 losses and 127 seasons. So what they've done in order to turn around their fortunes is unprecedented in this sport. This is a sport of monarchies. I mean, this is a sport of passing down elite status from generation to generation, that there's a important context associated with the winners of this sport, and to break through in the way that they have has never really been done before. We've seen it in basketball. It's probably easier to be done in basketball. Not to say it's easy by any stretch of the imagination, but if Indiana were to win the national championship this year, which they got to go on the road now and play at Miami in a quote-unquote, road contest, but they're the favorites to do it. It's got to be the most remarkable sports story ever in terms of turnarounds. And we talked about Baylor's turnaround in winning a national championship. I mean, it's got to be up there. Now, there's no context with Indiana football associated with what Baylor basketball was coming back from. There's no similarity there. But in terms of losing, in terms of turning around your fortunes, Indiana football, and in a sport that just doesn't have it. That's the biggest difference between like a Baylor basketball or even not to say UConn basketball did a turnaround, but they become a blue blood, and it's so remarkably hard to do, but it's easier in basketball to do it. We just have never seen it in football to this degree.
Yeah.
I mean, 692 losses, 508 and 692. That is almost 200 more losses than wins.
Now, don't forget about the greatest turnaround in college football history at Kansas State and what Bill Snyder did.
And all of those national championships that they won.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's
not to diminish what Bill Snyder did at K-State. It's remarkable.
And you're not wrong at all, because this is a Bill Snyder-esque turnaround with the national championship. Kansas State was one play away from playing in the Natty in 1998. They blew it at the Big 12 championship game against Texas A&M.
Maybe had there been a 12-team playoff in that era, they might have won. We'll never know.
Right. But for Indiana to do what they've done, Curt Cignetti, if he's not cheating, because if he is cheating, we'll find out.
By the way, there's a lot of people cheating that aren't winning at this level.
Exactly.
By the way, guys, they ain't the only ones cheating if they are.
Like, when is the last non-blue blood to win a national championship in football? I think you would go all the way back to 1991 when Washington won it, and 1990 when Colorado won it. Outside of that, BYU won it in 1984. Outside of that, it is your Ohio States, Michigans, your Georgia, LSU, Clemson, and their run. Are they considered a blue blood? I would say at the time.
They're probably like in the modern era of the playoffs. So you've just gone back to a time when we didn't really even have the BCS National Championship.
Exactly.
So I would say, like, as long as having an actual defined national championship, Clemson's probably the most un-blue blood to win it. But, yeah, I mean, you've got Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, LSU, Florida, Texas, USC. Like, yeah.
I mean, even in the 90s, when it was just the number one ranked team was your national champion, it was dominated by Michigan, Florida, Nebraska, Florida State, Alabama.
Yeah.
Those were your champs from 92 to 97. So, I mean, I would argue that Indiana's like Colorado-esque, Washington-esque, BYU, and probably the biggest underdog in college football history in our lifetime to play and maybe win a national championship.
And Kurt Signetti is, like, sick. Like, they scored to go up 42 to whatever it was, and he had this look on his face like he wanted to kill somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, the game is over at this point. You've won. And he's looking like nitpicking, and I mean, he is a sick person.
Dude, I love that guy. I do. Like,
he needs help.
He rubbed me the wrong way at times when he would get on College Game Day and say outlandish things about their opponents and take shots, but I'm here for it now. Like, during the semifinal game, he was tracking where all the ESPN cameras were and just, like, blue steel, like, dead eye right at the cameras. 7 or 8 times. It was epic. It's just epic.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, and, like, so 38-3 over Bama in the Rose Bowl, 56-22 over Oregon in the Peach Bowl. And, by the way, the game wasn't that close. Like, I know that's a 34-point spread, but it wasn't that close.
And I must say, Fernando Mendoza is him. 4 touchdowns, 2 incomplete passes, 299 yards.
More touchdowns than incompletions. Against an Oregon defense that held Texas Tech without a score.
Mm-hmm.
And had Baird Morton looking that bad. Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, just had 4 touchdown passes and 2 incompletions.
And that's what's awesome about the college football playoff is ultimately it writes itself. You watch a guy like Fernando Mendoza, and if this was the pre-college football era, you'd say, well, who did they play? Was he really that good?
Right.
And then he gets in the college football playoff, and he's even better than he was in the regular season. I can see why. There's no doubt in my mind who the number 1 draft pick should be in this upcoming draft, because it was between Mendoza and Dante Moore, and that looked like an All-American against a JV quarterback in that matchup. Transfer portal tracker, by the way, Texas now has the number 1 class in the country. And remember, the transfer portal window, because it's so much smaller than it used to be, like one weekend, this thing can shift dramatically. Oklahoma State still has a top 3 class, but they've gone from 20-some commits to 44 transfer portal commitments. Texas Tech checks in at number 8. Arizona State is up to 20 commitments. They're number 9 in the country. And then past that, you've got Colorado at number 21, and Baylor has cracked the top 25 with 15 commitments at number 25, even though DJ Lagway, is he going to Baylor? Is he not going to Baylor? He's listed on 24/7 Sports as a commitment, but he's saying that he's still going to take some other visits, so that's a weird deal down in Waco.
I mean, very weird. That is the perfect example of what the transfer portal and the quarterback situation is in 2025, 2026. So the quarterback, by all accounts, commits, and then by the end of the weekend, he is not committed, and he's back looking at Ole Miss. It's funny, there's always one, right? In terms of negotiation, it only takes one offer. And that's what appears to have happened. So LSU, Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback who's now been eliminated, is lobbying for another year of eligibility. He was initially declined that extra year of eligibility. He's trying to protest and get this turned around. So it was thought that Lane Kiffin would be adding Chambliss as his quarterback next year. Without that year of eligibility, that opened some things up. So you wonder now that's where Lane's throwing out some fishing lines here to see if he can catch anything.
Sam Leavitt is still rated as the number 1 quarterback available in the transfer portal. CBS has their top 5 quarterback rankings as of an hour ago, and Sam Leavitt is looking at LSU, Tennessee, and Miami because Miami will need Carson Beck's replacement for next season. Then you've got Dylan Raiola, who's not signed with anybody, a kid from USC, Longstreet, who didn't play much. Then you've got a kid that was the backup at Penn State, and then Bo Pribula, who was the starter at Missouri, former Penn State quarterback. Not really sure where he's going to land, looking at Virginia Tech, Washington, Georgia Tech, and Tennessee. And the transfer portal window's not open that much longer. I mean, I'm pretty sure it closes.
Now, remember, though, that's just to enter your name into the portal. Once you're in the portal, you can sign at any point in time.
Okay.
So the transfer portal opening and closing has only to do with entering the portal. Once it's closed, you cannot enter your name into the portal.
Got it. Okay. So these guys can drag this out as long as they see fit to get top dollar.
Yes. Yeah.
But the star receiver from Auburn, he lands at Texas.
Well, and I think what happened here is that Texas was sick and tired of losing guys to Texas Tech, and they offered money that could not be refused because everything I heard out of Lubbock was they were going to get him.
Mm-hmm.
And reportedly he was offered over $3 million, which is way too much to pay for a non-quarterback. I mean, if you're paying $3.5 million for Brendan Sorsby or whatever they're paying, you're not paying $3 million for a wide receiver. Would have been a great ad and given them an elite NFL wideout for next year, but Texas was not going to lose again to Texas Tech. They were not going to be outbid by Texas Tech again.
Who's Arch Manning going to throw the football to?
Yeah, right.
Got to have a receiver. And as good as Coleman is, I don't think he had 1,000 yards this season. Now, granted, they had some quarterback issues.
They put that on the quarterback, yeah. If he'd played Baylor every week, he would have.
Mm-hmm. Heather Dinich from ESPN, she was on Get Up, the College Football Insider. She was asked about the current college football playoff formatics and the possibility of expanding beyond 12 teams. She said that a 16-seeded bracket could potentially come as soon as next season. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti are trying to agree to it. Right now there is still a stalemate, but she does say that there's more momentum than ever to going to a 16-team field, possibly as early as 2026.
Well, I just don't see it because we have the Big Ten saying that things need to be one way in a 16-team field, and the SEC saying things need to be another way in the 16-team field. And so far from all the reporting we've heard, nobody's backtracked on either of those stances. And if there's no agreement on how you're picking those 16 teams, we're not going to have a 16-team field. And by the way, I'm completely fine with that. I think a 12-team field has looked really good the first couple of years. I think we will eventually see expansion, but from where we sit right now, it's hard to believe that we're getting it that quickly. There's been a lot of talking about expanding, but all the talks are on the specifics of who those 16 bids are going to go to. That's what makes me believe we're not going to have it anytime soon.
What is the format going to look like? How many are automatic bids versus at-large bids? There's still a lot of work to be done. Fran Fraschilla, he's a guy always working for ESPN college basketball analyst, will join us coming up after the break to discuss everything that happened on the hardwood in the Big 12, the state of Kansas, the dominance at the top of the league, and how many NCAA tournament teams legit could get in from this conference. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. We chat with Fran after this timeout.
Jackson now on.
Against a red-hot BYU team with lots of their fans in the building. Utes will have the first possession.
I think they've been a little tough in judging the assist for AJ so far.
Out on the open court now. Spin move and finishes at the rim. Man, really struggling to shoot the ball in this first half. Dibonsa blocked at the rim. Wow, what a block. Brown, they've swarmed him, and he threw it right to Dibonsa. 2-on-1, gives it up. And Saunders with the left hand. Timeout, Utah.
Closer. Tough games this week.
Yeah.
Conference play will bring that out of you.
Saunders drives. Saunders score the basket plus a foul. Right. Shot clock winding down. Rob Wright. No. Rebound Utah. Outlet to Brown. Brown steps through and lays it in. Kennery drives and count it plus a foul. Under 4 minutes. Brown against Saunders. Brown backdoor dunk from Dawes.
They run the blitz once again. AJ gives it up, makes the right read.
He did. Cada gets the pass from Wright. Cada scores.
What a find by Rob Wright. They're going to a 2-3 zone this time, and the shot clock is working late here.
Yeah. Down the lane. A little up and under. Somehow Terrence Brown got the basket to go.
The foul on the floor turned after the game is over.
Okay, so the foul came after the final seconds. Game over. BYU wins.
Impressive win for BYU.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you the Full-Time Fan by Modelo, heard exclusively on TuneIn, where you can hear Iowa State at Kansas tomorrow at 8 Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. He's Ari, I'm James, and Fran the Man. Fran Fraschilla from ESPN joins us now. Hey, Fran.
Hey, it just means more in the Big 12 when it comes to basketball, guys.
Yes. I love it. I love it.
It means a little more, man. You know, I love my friends in the SEC. They were gloating last year, and got to give them credit. You know, they had a historic year because they had so many like seventh-year guys in the league, and you know, but the Big 12 looks like it's back, and especially at the top of the league, guys, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about all show, Fran, but the top four are 62-2. And you, Fran, you and I both know you've been around this league a long time. Is this as good as the league has ever been?
Well, the league's been really good at times in the past like this. Remember, you guys don't remember, and I think it was my first year at ESPN. I wasn't even doing the Big 12, but there were some years like in 02, 03 where they had, it was Kansas, Texas with Barnes and Kelvin Sampson, where they were, I think there was 2 number 1 seeds and a 2 seed. And so, yes, this is historic. And I have to tell you guys know this. I'm speaking to the choir, but preaching to the choir. But this is a league that still sees Kansas and Baylor kind of regrouping. You know, watch out for Baylor next year because they have fixed some things NIL-wise down there. And I think Scott Drew is going to be spending like he's at Neiman Marcus in the spring. And then Kansas guys, I know we'll talk about them. I don't know what's going on, honestly. But the top of the league is incredible. And, you know, it's going to be really fun to watch here this next month.
Fran, are you on the Iowa State KU game tomorrow?
I'm not. No, that's Super Tuesday. And so that's how it rolls. But I have so many good games coming up from now until early March that, you know, I'm going to sit home and enjoy it tomorrow night. And but honestly, I have some of the best games in the conference coming up on Big Monday and Saturdays. And so looking forward to the next 6 weeks.
Man, there's so many great matchups just about each and every weekday here in the league. What is your take on – I still want to get your thoughts on that Iowa State KU game. It's in Allen Fieldhouse, but, I mean, Iowa State just looks like a machine right now.
Well, they do. They are. We're getting to a point early. You know, who said it's getting late early? But for Kansas, like, this is a must-win. This is a must game for KU. They can't be messing around anymore. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves, you know, playing on I don't know if they'll play on the first day of the tournament, but it's a huge game for them. Iowa State, it's a big game just because they'd love to stay undefeated. But I don't know the odds makers, but I would say Kansas would be favored by a couple points, you know, because Allen Fieldhouse generally, guys, as you know better than anybody, it's worth about 8 points. So it's going to be a really great battle. But Kansas is going to have to play like their life depended on it because right now, today on a neutral court, Iowa State's probably 8 to 10 points better than Kansas.
Wow. Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. In fact, you know, I think you're right about Kansas being favored, but I've watched both these teams play, and I don't think they're relatively close at this point in time.
Yeah.
Fran Fraschilla joining us here from the Palestra, one of the iconic venues in all of college basketball. Always fun to chat with Fran because he's got great stadiums and arenas as his background, and the home of the Penn Quakers is certainly one of them.
I'm going to get a cheesesteak after this. So.
Yeah, there are a lot of Eagles fans that are bummed right now, Fran.
I know.
But
I know. Brock Purdy, Iowa State, David Archer. Come on.
How about that? Yeah, no kidding. Great call there, Fran.
That was scrappy, yeah.
After
scrappy.
Kansas's loss to West Virginia, by the way, it's the 4th straight loss for Kansas at West Virginia and 4th straight coach they've lost against. Self was sort of asked about why they don't dominate the Big 12 like they used to, and he said his teams aren't as good. I'm curious for your sort of overall assessment of that because while he's right, isn't that sort of his job?
I think, you know, I'm very close to that staff. I've known Bill forever, and I see this as a sign of poor evaluation, especially of the portal. We could not anticipate.
Ding.
Darren Peterson, you could not anticipate the issues injury-wise that he's going through right now. And at least this year, it's a large reason for some of the, the misfortune. But I go back to Timberlake, AJ Storr, Rylan Griffin. Zeke Mayo was good, not great. Some nights he wasn't very good. This year, Jaden Dawson can't get off the bench. I could have told him that, but nobody asked me when I watched him at Loyola last year play like 2 or 3 times in the NIT. I just think, guys, that, you know, Iowa State keeps nailing transfers going back to the Fred Hoiberg days, and Kansas, quite honestly, and I'm sure Bill would even probably say it too because he's so honest about his assessment of his team, and you can almost read between the lines when they do play poorly that he's not happy. But I think that's a big factor, in what's going on with them.
Talking with Fran Fraschilla here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Fran, you had a tweet last night about Johnny Dawkins, man, and him just being an easy guy to root for. And his UCF team is now 13-2. Ken Palm projects them as 9-9 and likely an NCAA tournament team. Are they kind of the cream of the crop in that middle log jam in the Big 12, or what's your take on the Knights?
Well, I think when you talk about this league, first of all, kudos to Johnny and his team. He's got a bunch of transfers. Jordan Burks is playing great. Fulks, the little point guard, tremendous. They've really, remember, they lost a kid, Keyshawn Hall, to Auburn, and they're better. I would say not to get too excited if you're a UCF fan, because the gauntlet, they still got a gauntlet until early March. But you just love the way they have handled business, and they're playing really well. Fulks is a really underrated point guard. He's kind of their Jaden Bradley right now in Orlando, and so it'll be really interesting to see them keep this up. They're always a tough place to play on the road in the Big 12 because you're coming out of like 11 degrees in Boulder or Ames or Lawrence, and then you got to go down there and it's sunshine and your kids lose a little focus. And then, they kind of got you where they want you. So very pleased for Johnny because he's such a gentleman. There's always talk that they're going to make a coaching change, and the fact that they've got this thing going is great for them.
Who do you think are some of the most underrated teams right now in the Big 12?
Well, again, Ari, it's early because we don't know how the schedule breaks,
Right.
But I would say, well, first of all, let me say something about Colorado. That is so old school right now. If you guys, I watched the game last night before, I came home and I wanted to see what was going on. And, you guys know this, Texas Tech was up 24 with like maybe 13 to go. And the transfer Hargress had his chance to win it for Colorado. That was an incredible comeback. They are arguably one of the youngest power conference teams in the country. They got 5 guys who are freshmen in the rotation. I watched them practice in July before they went to Australia, and I told Tad, this is old school basketball. Like, we used to say, when these kids get to be juniors, they're going to be really good.
Right.
That's what I saw, and if they can keep that group together, in a year or two, they're going to be really good. Isaiah Johnson, nobody knows about him. He's a rising star. I mean, I've seen this before so many times where I pick out a freshman and I go, wait till he's a senior, wait till he's a junior.
Yeah.
And so I'm impressed with them. Ross Hodge is doing it with mirrors. They've got some players there. They put together a roster quickly. They had some bumps in a row. They lost to Lorient for a couple games. Their North Texas transfer, I think they're sneaky. I have no doubt about the fact that Ross Hodge is going to build a really good program at West Virginia. And getting that win on Saturday over Kansas at home, what I miss about being down there after a big win is there's nothing like hearing Country Roads after a Mountaineer win. Nothing.
Fran, can Baylor turn things around? They've got a game tomorrow night at Oklahoma State. They're looking at, if they drop that one, man, they'll be 0-4 in Big 12 play.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you have to go back. And again, I mentioned the NIL stuff. I do think they're going to get that rectified because, quite honestly, there's a few teams in the league that have been good for a while that don't have the kind of financial support that you would expect. I think that's changing. You also got to keep in mind that very few teams, they're likely to lose 2 more first-round picks with this team, but very few teams have been hit harder in the NBA draft, which in one sense is a great thing for Scott Drew because they're going to keep adding kids who can be first-round picks. And then the Robert Wright situation, where he basically committed to, the return to Baylor, and that flipped, and now he's at BYU. So they've had bad luck. They have a good team. They don't have a deep team. They've also lost two big guys for the season, as you know. They're redshirting a very good young big guy that they promised they would redshirt at a Blair Academy named Soroye, who's 6'10", who's in that Ojanwuna Yves Misi mold. Elijah Williams comes in next year, Monty Williams' son. We'll see who they can keep on the roster, but this could be a tough stretch for them. I'm very confident that Baylor will be back, but Scott Drew's not worried about next year right now.
Fran Fraschilla from ESPN joining us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. Fran, who's the best team in the league right now? Is it still Arizona? And if it's Arizona, who's the second best team in this conference?
I think Arizona's the best team right now. Now, people are sleeping on Houston.
Yeah.
I say that. Obviously, they're not sleeping on them that much. But what I love about Houston is the better those freshmen get, the more experienced, the more battle-tested, I think you're going to see Houston. Houston absolutely has a chance to go to the Final Four. There's no doubt in my mind. You don't want to play them in the first 2-3 rounds of the NCAA tournament. But Arizona is complete. I've watched them a number of times already. I think they've got almost 8 starters. You count Aristotle, a freshman, as their 8th man, and he could start for easily 12 of the teams in this conference. And he hasn't even got it going yet. But the big guys inside, they don't even miss Vasar, who's going to be a first-round pick at North Carolina. Front line, Koa Pete, Awaka, obviously. They've got freshmen that are growing up. They got experience. They've got a great point guard. Jaden Bradley, he won't be the player of the year in the league, but he'll have to be a lock first team, in my opinion, unless people have been not watching. And I don't know who's not going to be, because in a month, let's do this. Let's figure out first team all conference, because I got 15 guys right now that are worthy. But I love Arizona. I love Iowa State. I don't think they have the depth that Arizona has. I love, obviously, I think BYU's one Achilles heel is their lack of depth, because remember, guys, they're playing without Dallas Baker and Nate Pickens, who transferred in, I think, from Riverside, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot of depth. So that would be one Achilles heel for for BYU. But I was talking to I know I'm rambling here, but the top 5 teams in the league, I would love to see a 3-man tournament among those top 5 teams, because each of those teams has a great trio of players that all of them could be all Big 12.
I want to get your thoughts, because you kind of just mentioned this, Fran, but Joe Lenardi tweeted out over the weekend, random thoughts from a rare Saturday at home, and he says, Houston is the most forgotten, excellent team in a long time, ...
Yeah. Yeah, I guess to everybody not associated with the Big 12, because we've been watching this now for 3 years.
Right,
I think what's amazing, I think what's incredible here, I think it's 35-4. Do you guys know that for sure? Since they've come into the league, I think that was what I saw over the weekend.
35-4. Yeah. Sorry,
that's
37-4 is what I saw.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, I lost count. Yeah, I've lost count. That's incredible.
And 22 of 23, Fran.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. And I remember when they started the league 2 years ago, they started out 0-2.
Yeah.
They started out 0-2. They lost at TCU and they lost at Iowa State. So figured that one out,
I'm old enough to remember when Kansas was doing that in the league.
I know. And So, I think if you remember last year, I think they were 4-3 and they kind of dropped all the way down to the teens.
Yeah.
But we knew like it was a close loss to Auburn, couple close losses out in Vegas, and we knew they would be Houston by the end of the year. And I think this Houston team, I don't think there's any question they could get to the Final Four, and a lot of it might depend. By the way, we talked about them a little bit because I've watched them play, but now the country knows how good Kingston Flemings is also.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well said.
And he's a baller. He is a baller.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy what they're doing down there. But Arizona's going to Arizona's going to be good next year too. And like this if Kansas and Baylor can get back to where they were, and like Utah makes a move and West Virginia makes a move in the future, because there's some great coaches in the league now that haven't turned the corner yet. This league's going to get better and better. It may not be as good at the top as this year, but it's going to be deeper for sure.
Love it. Good stuff. Fran Fraschilla, ESPN, joining us here on Big 12 today. Fran, great to catch up. We'll talk soon.
See you guys. Always a pleasure.
You're the best, Franny. Thank you.
Fran Fraschilla, ESPN college basketball analyst, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. The final whistle is coming up next as we wrap up the show on a Monday edition. All the highlights here on Big 12 today. On Big 12 Radio, this is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league.
State comes out wearing the home white. Oklahoma State, the road orange. And the Cowboys have won the tip. One thing to note, second leading scorer for the Cowboys, Victorious Miller. He will not play today. He is down with an ankle injury.
When they have those lanes, like my man Fran Fraschilla said, you got to pass the ball.
Early on, here is Clary, gives it up to Roy, leading scorer, and that's what he does, knocks down the three. Can't get past his man. As he gets it back from Fowler. Shot clock winding down. Three rattles in over Jefferson. What a shot for Kanye. Iowa State has made 6 of their last 8 from the floor. Buchanan throws this one away to Curry. One-on-one working against Nelson, and he wins that battle. Oklahoma State wants to push the pace. They want to play fast. As Curry's 3 rims out. Jefferson, crafty move in the lane. He's got 10.
He's so tough to stop one-on-one. You don't get too many better looks than that. If you're Christian Coleman, you got to knock that down.
Momcilovic had an open look, but the follow is there for Taman Lipsey.
Uh-oh.
Gets in a defensive stance. Clary splits the D. Curry from the same spot bricks that 3. Giving it up as Jefferson throws it down. Iowa State, they got a scare. Oklahoma State led this one early, but the Cyclones will hold on. And it is a final.
Back inside Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio and on Big 12 Studios. One final time, special thanks to all of our guests today. Fran Fraschilla from ESPN, college basketball analyst. And then we had Brian Thornton, the VP, the man of men's basketball here at the Big 12, joined us in studio live during the 8 o'clock hour. And Shreyas Laddha, who covers Kansas for the Kansas City Star, covers KU basketball and football, joined us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. This is the final whistle, and during each and every commercial break on today's show, Ari has shared just one Bears fun fact statistic after another. What is your favorite? Because they've all been bangers.
I wouldn't say all of them have been bangers. He took a shot at my Cowboys.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
All bangers. I was getting ready to come into the segment to be like, I have sprinkled in a random Bears fact every break, and I could tell increasingly that James cares less and less every single time I do it. So we are on the same wavelength here. I was just getting ready to bring up the fact that I just keep sprinkling in these little nuggets, and you're like, I still don't care.
It's just a taste. It's just a taste.
And James is like, oh, cool, awesome, cool. Can you focus on the show, or?
Little by little, it's been, tell me more. Wow. Huh. Did what?
We're going to get to Wednesday and be like, listen, I do not care. I didn't watch the game. I don't care.
Man.
I could not care less. Stop.
I do care. And I told you that, this game was on Amazon, which the NFL playoffs are on Amazon. I was in a hotel. I couldn't watch the game, so I was on social media.
Don't you have Amazon?
Yeah, I could have logged in on my phone. Then my phone would have been occupied. My phone would have been spoken for. So
true.
I'm chilling after the game.
You also have a computer too, yes?
Yeah, I had that. It just felt like a lot of work. It did. And the real reason I didn't is...
No, I mean, by the way, you're so right. Like me unearthing my Peacock subscription to log into that to watch some of these games, it's like, how am I going to do this?
I'm just going to say this. Yeah. You guys sound so old.
But once you're
It's not that hard.
Once you're in, auto-save those passwords, you're locked and loaded.
Yeah, but then you got to get out of the other app and then get into that app, and it's a whole thing.
I got on Twitter and I saw a bunch of highlights of terrible Caleb Williams throws, and I saw the score and I thought, this isn't going well. I will not be texting Ari the rest of the night. And then I looked yesterday, I'm like, they won the game?
It was an incredible comeback. My 10-year-old has really become a huge Bears fan this year. And it's not like he jumped on the bandwagon when they're good. Like, he started all year with me. The Bears started 0-2. It looked like they were heading for another bad season. And it's been magical so far. And, we'll see now with Matt Stafford having a 5-7 record all time at Soldier Field. It'll be below 0 for a team and a quarterback that's played the majority of his career indoors. He played at Highland Park. He played at Georgia. He played it for the Lions indoors. He plays for the Rams now. So going outdoors in sub-degree temperatures, we'll see.
Yeah, he doesn't
Very
like
interesting.
He does not like cold weather.
And of course, the Big 12's number one son, Puka Nacua from BYU, who did not play in the Big 12, but of course played at BYU. He's gonna be a tough cover for the Bears on Sunday. We'll see.
I don't know. I feel good about your chances. I do.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Packers had been the hill the Bears could not climb previously. So the fact that they've done it is it was fun. It went from I was not having very much fun at all watching the game, drinking away my sorrows, to, oh my God, they actually did it. Like, I was at a point in time, like, I just want this to be more competitive. Like, it felt more like the Texas Tech game until 25 points scored by the Bears in the fourth quarter. It was a remarkable game. It was as good of a football game as it gets. And I've just been, like, nonstop since I woke up Sunday morning scrolling social media. Like, just what's the opposite of doom scrolling? Like,
boom scrolling.
Sunny scrolling? Boom scrolling? It was like, just show me more.
That's
amazing. And watching, like, Packers fans who live stream themselves during games. Oh,
yeah, because they're completely melting.
The tears. Oh, I drank the tears. Give me those tears.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was a little bit worried after I saw what happened with Kansas, and then was worried about the Bears. Thought, guys, Monday's going to be a rough show. Monday's going to be a rough show. We're not going to be all there. We're not going to be all there on Monday, but the Bears rallied.
Well, the NFL playoffs have delivered. I mean,
the only bad game was the Patriots.
Was the last game.
Yeah. Every other game was great.
And the game was good until it was like, you look up and you're like, oh, wait, there's 4 minutes left and it's a 2-score game.
The Chargers, they did what the Chargers do. They started chargering.
Yeah,
Panthers,
Justin Herbert, man, he just can't. He's really good in the regular season, but cannot finish games in the postseason. It's a thing now.
Very much so.
Patriots have a good defense, but that was the only game that wasn't down to the wire. I mean, an incredible throw by Matt Stafford that closed out the Carolina game. You had an incredible throw.
Did you see Josh Allen, how he got bullied into the end zone against Jacksonville?
Oh, yeah, that was
insane.
nuts. Like a 15-yard tush push.
Yeah, that was insane.
And I never thought Drake May would be this good.
But the first 3 games of the weekend started with teams that had the lead at the 2-minute warning lost.
Yeah.
All 3 of them in the first 3 games of the weekend. Teams in the lead at the 2-minute warning lost the games.
Theatrics.
And now the NFC West has all 3 of its teams remaining. San Francisco and Seattle playing on one side, and the Rams playing the Bears the other side.
Oh, yeah, who's left? Bears, Rams, Seahawks, Niners. And then in the AFC, when you're a Chiefs fan, it's like we either win Super Bowls or we're not in.
The Steelers and Texans play tonight, but then
they play the winner. So the winner of that game plays the Patriots.
Yeah.
And then you have
the Patriots and the Bills. And I feel like we're forgetting one.
We are. Who are the Bills playing?
Denver.
Yeah, Denver. So Denver plays Buffalo, and the Patriots will play the winner of the Texans-Steelers game.
There it is. Got it.
And the one stat that Taman did not like that I brought up, 2 seeds now. So if you remember, before 2020, the 1 and the 2 seeds each got buys into the divisional round of the playoffs. Well, now that they have a 7th team, the NFL forces the 2 seed to have to play the wild card weekend. The 2 seeds are now 11-1 in that wild card weekend. So 2 seeds have beaten 7 seeds, 11 out of 12. The 1 being the Packers as a 7 seed, knocking off the Cowboys.
When Jordan Love
in
just
2023.
went nuts.
Yeah.
What hurts the most is that game. Like, you can make the argument because the Cowboys had 3 straight 12-5 seasons up to that point, and ever since that game has been played, they have not been the same team since.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, you're right.
It just, there's some games that define a franchise, and as of late, that game, it was 28-0 at halftime, and I had a lot of bourbon and Modelo.
All right, Bills or Broncos in the AFC.
And the other thing that I brought up that Taman did not like to hear was that Caleb Williams, in his first career playoff game, has more wins in the playoffs against the Packers than Tony Romo and Dak Prescott combined. Taman didn't like that
Go
one.
Rams.
No.
Go Rams.
I didn't like that one.
Matthew Stafford's 5-7 at Soldier Field.
Dallas guy.
Well, he's about to be 6-7.
Oh,
go Matt Stafford.
Man, the Broncos went 14-3.
You didn't know that?
This just did. The Broncos are really good.
They swept the Chiefs.
Really good.
The
I'm
Broncos-
aware of that, Taman.
The
Pump
Broncos
brakes, all
and Patriots have dominant defenses.
Right. Yeah. That's what my Uber driver was telling me about the Broncos because he played linebacker at Colorado.
Nobody in the NFC
early
has
90s.
a defense close to the level.
The Seahawks.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
the
Seahawks also have a good defense.
Yeah.
Let's see. Points allowed this season. Texans.
This is
lead
great.
the
We're wrapping up an
AFC.
entire season. We're like catching James up on an entire season of NFL football
The
in 5 minutes
Seahawks
here.
lead it in the NFC.
James is like, the Seahawks are in the playoffs? Seattle's in the playoffs?
Seahawks quarterback is Sam Darnold.
Yep.
Correct.
Look at you.
Okay.
Please.
Ding, ding, ding.
Running back. They still got the running back that was really good at Michigan State.
Yes.
Walker.
They've got a couple of good running backs. He's
Tyler
one of them.
Lockett still at receiver.
No.
He's moved on.
God.
That one's.
DK Metcalf's
Yeah.
gone too.
Yeah, DK Metcalf. He was a dude.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
will
no,
not
man,
be playing
it's-
tonight either, I don't think.
Guys, it's mock draft season. It's mock draft season. Okay.
I mean, as a
Chiefs are
Bears
going to have a
fan-
top 10 pick.
Bears have not won their first playoff game in 15 years on Saturday night. So that's pretty much been where I've been for my lifetime.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I remember that was a thing with the Chiefs too, because Patrick
Mahomes, yeah.
I mean, Alex Smith, I can't remember. He may have won one.
No, Trent Green. There was a long stretch where the Chiefs would get to the divisional round and lose.
Yep.
Every time.
And I mean, they had really good regular season after really good regular
Yeah,
season.
the Trent Green, Priest Mahomes.
Priest Holmes.
Priest Holmes.
Priest Mahomes would be
There was
pretty good
Larry
too.
Johnson, Tony Gonzalez. They had some
Yeah,
ballers.
those teams
on
were
that team.
stacked. They'd
Yeah.
go 13-3, but man, they had no defense.
Yep.
None. Jordan Tyson projected to go number 8, according to a latest NFL mock draft.
Where's David Bailey projected to go?
The Chiefs picked number 9, by the way, so that'd be a gut punch. Would love to see him in KC. David Bailey, this mock draft has him at number 4 going to the Titans.
Yeah, I could see Bailey being a top 5 pick. He is easily the best defensive player in this draft. And, I mean, as good as Jacob Rodriguez was for Texas Tech, the ability for Bailey to be both, elite as a pass rusher, but also very good against the run. He is a complete defensive end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a stud. Titans have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Expected to go with an edge rusher. David Bailey would be a great fit. My wife is mad at me because my flight got back yesterday later than she wanted me to be back.
When did she want you to be back?
She wanted me on the first flight back. And apparently, I don't book the flights, by the way. The company does that. But did I have any complaints about being able to sleep till about 8? No, I didn't. So my flight took off at like 9:45 Mountain, which was 10:45 here. The time change going west does not do good things in marriage court under our roof. I landed, I checked my phone, already knew that I'd lost the day. The day was over. The day was over.
You just got to go 1-0 today, James. That's all that matters.
Today's a new day.
You went 0-1 yesterday. You took a big loss.
And I did so many things around the house. I was like, I got to sleep in a little bit. Like, look, getting me at 100%.
What'd you do?
Built some shelves in the garage.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm talking serious. Put a new rim on the basketball goal. Took out all the trash. All the trash. I was taking down boxes. Get those in recycling. So, yeah, I did like a quarter of the garage.
Wow, a new rim?
New rim, Ari.
That's
10-foot goal.
That's
new
worth
rim.
like a week of not being in the doghouse.
Goal had to come down. Goal had to go back up.
And it's like still holding.
Did you miss the shelves? Put the shelves together as well? Oh, yeah, that rim is tight. These kids, they don't know how to shoot on this new rim. The rim's too tight. Nothing's bouncing in. I got that thing tight. You miss, and like it's carom off to the neighbor's yard. So that was my highlight from yesterday.
That's good. Maybe we should do some more stuff around the house today.
We'll see. We'll see what the day brings.
You got those Christmas lights down?
Trees down. Put the tree away.
Christmas lights, they're down?
Well, they never got up.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Remember?
That's right.
They got to go up to come back down.
See, if I were you, I would have said, oh, Christmas lights were down the day after Christmas. I'm driving my neighborhood. I'm still seeing multiple people with Christmas lights up. I feel like there should be somebody
I bet that angers you.
Drives around the neighborhood like writing tickets.
Definitely.
Like, I'm all for the Christmas
That's
season.
called an HOA.
I mean,
They definitely do that.
It's January 12th, people.
This guy, he's his own HOA. He is the HOA.
I mean, you have 6 days after Christmas, 5 days after Christmas to put your Christmas lights down in the month of December. And now 12 days following that, you still have your Christmas lights up?
Oh, man.
And I know some of these people are paying people to put their lights up. Which means they didn't get quick enough to pay them to put their lights down. I'm a day away from going up myself to take out some of these Christmas lights.
Do it. You need to do it. You need to do it. I saw the K-State radio team over the weekend. They wished me a Happy New Year, and I just kind of chuckled. They had no idea.
I'm letting Wyatt get away with that.
Okay, Wyatt's good?
Wyatt's the best.
All right, because he wished me a Happy New Year, and I thought,
if Wyatt Thompson, if I saw Wyatt Thompson in February and he said Happy New Year, I'd be like, Happy New Year, Wyatt. Love that guy.
Subjective. It's very subjective.
Absolutely.
Some people can say Happy New Year. Others can't. All right, we'll do it again tomorrow. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We will have, who will we have, Taman?
Right now we have Talia Goodman, who will talk women's basketball.
What happened to Tommy Lloyd? We were told at the end of last week we were going to have Tommy Lloyd on today.
Arizona had a scheduling conflict this morning. So we're still in conversations.
It'll happen.
Interesting.
Tommy will come through.
It'll happen.
Yeah, he'll come through. I trust it. All right, we had Brian Thornton, VP of men's basketball at the Big 12. Shreyas Latta from the Kansas City Star covers Kansas. And then we had Fran Fraschilla from ESPN College Basketball. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling for Anthony Smith, for Taman Turner. This has been Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league powered by Modelo. We're out of here.
Peace.